Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Friday, June 25th, 2021. Thanks so much for joining us. It is the day that we are expecting the sentencing in the Derek Chauvin case. We're going to discuss that at great lengths today on The Clock with Georgia Ford.
Good morning. Yes, we will be discussing the sentencing. I will be one of two reporters in the courtroom this afternoon. And so we have a lot to cover there. But first, I want to talk about the fact that 79-year-old civil rights leader Jesse Jackson was arrested this week, and it's barely made national news. A 79-year-old civil rights leader still advocating for change, still advocating for the advancement of Black people, was arrested. He was standing up for three key issues. He was looking to make sure that the minimum wage be increased to $15. He was also looking to get the voting rights bill passed that was presented, called For the People. And he's asking, and I think this might be a little bit bold, the abolishment of the filibuster. Now, not only was Jesse Jackson arrested after a demonstration in D.C., but 21 other people were arrested along with him. And if you've been following Jesse Jackson, you know that he does have some health issues. He's been dealing with Parkinson's for quite some time now. I did see him when I was in Tulsa. He was there. He spoke, and his health has been declining. He is not at a place even where he can walk without assistance. And so it's very concerning to me that out of all the people who were there, and there was more than 21, but of the 21 people they decided to arrest, that they decided to arrest a 79-year-old civil rights leader. I want you guys to take a listen of what one of the other faith leaders had to say while they were there protesting. Take a listen.
They would not respond to the people from their own state asking for a meeting. We were going in with them to support them as religious leaders, as voting rights activists. They never responded. And so we decided that we had to take nonviolent civil disobedient action. We're not violent. We're willing to take our penalty. And we're saying across this country, it's time for people, poor, especially poor and low-wealth people, and religious and moral leaders to march on these Senate offices, come here to D.C. and march, non-violence. Reverend Jackson said we don't have to be an insurrection because we are a mobilization and a resurrection. But we have to. Nothing is more important than these voting rights. Nothing is more important than raising a living wage. Nothing is more important than our people's health care. Nothing is more important than the restoration of the Voting Rights Act.
That's Reverend William Barber there. We're going to bring in Ben Dixon now as well. They, were hoping to use their voices in a way that historically we've seen used in the past to really show legislators that there is a number of people that they represent who are demanding that they do better. And so when you start to think about people in Congress, senators, anyone, any political representative, you're in that seat to represent the people. Yeah. So ultimately, if you're ignoring the demands of the people, then what is it that is driving your decision-making process?
I want to say that's simple, Georgia. The reality is simple. Accepting it is something totally different because these people are not here to serve the people. The people who are blocking us on the filibuster, they are not here to serve the people. I don't care if they have a D by their name or if they have the R by their name. They are not here to serve the people. They are here to serve and protect the special interest of the powerful and the power of the elite, the power of the oligarchs that run this country comes from being able to keep the people where we are. And so they have the filibuster there. It's a very simple tool that is being wielded against the people to keep us from having any progress. And that's how Manchin and Sinema, they're using it that way.
No, Ben, I know that not everybody is as politically involved. Could you break down for people who don't follow politics, what exactly is the filibuster?
So essentially, it is moving the goalpost. It is saying instead of having to have 51 votes, a simple majority, right? We have a Senate of 100 senators, and you have the majority rule is what most people would expect. 51 votes would be enough to get. I mean, that's time is old, in time immemorial. Everyone understands simple majority rules. Well, the Senate has a Senate rule that is not in the Constitution. It is something of their own creation. They created it, and it is directly connected to the vestiges of slavery and Jim Crow. It directly comes from the ability of protecting the power, rather. They wanted to protect the power of the South. And so by honestly simply creating the rule of the filibuster, they've now been able to move the goalpost from getting a simple majority of 51 senators to vote for a piece of legislation to now having to have a supermajority of 60. And without that, then they are able to continuously filibuster, which is basically a technique of stopping legislation from passing.
And so that is part of the reason why Jesse Jackson was out there saying that needs to be abolished. He was also calling out specifically McConnell and Manchin as well, and asking for the minimum wage to be increased, and also talking about voting rights. So there's a lot of different elements to the protests that happened that led to the arrest of Jesse Jackson. But we didn't see anyone being violent. We didn't see anyone vandalizing anything. You simply saw constituents who were gathering, who were saying, here are the things that are important to us. And it concerns me. You can see there, even Jesse Jackson, I believe that's one of his sons, and I'm not sure who the other person is, who's helping him walk. Usually when you see Jesse Jackson in public now, someone is always beside him to offer that physical support because his health is declining. Why? Out of everybody who was out there, why did they have to target a 79-year-old civil rights leader?
Because, the best way for me to answer this is to mention an interview we did yesterday with Andrea Ravinsky. She is a local and independent journalist in, I forgot the exact city, Elizabeth City. And they're there. And I'm sorry, there's so many cities, so many names, and I'm bound to get them wrong eventually, but they're there protesting on behalf of Andrew Brown Jr. still to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the group has gotten smaller, but there's a dedicated few who show up, and they looked exactly like this group here. They were elderly. There were some individuals in wheelchairs. And in that interview with Andrea, she made it clear that the police said it very directly to them that they were there. The police were there to protect everyone else from the protesters of the elderly, the protesters of people in wheelchairs. But here's the thing. This is the same thing. It's not so much who or how old Reverend Jesse Jackson is. It's what he's fighting for that is the threat that those police officers are trying to protect the system from.
And when I went to go look for, just to do some research about what happened, because clearly I wasn't there. All of these other mugshots and arrest pictures, I think Jesse Jackson has been arrested almost every decade.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw him, in so many different cities, so many different states fighting for the same thing. And it just made me realize, like, he has dedicated his entire life, his entire career to the advancement of our country, to passing bills that will lead to a more equitable nation. And so it's just disheartening to see our elders treated with a lack of compassion. There were enough young people out there, if they were trying to, really put their foot down. But it just doesn't make sense that you would target someone in that age, in that health, for simply just showing up and saying, listen, these are your constituents. You need to do your job. It is that simple. Now, as a journalist, it's important to tell both sides of the story. So I do want to play a clip for you guys where you can hear the law enforcement officers there on the scene giving dispersals. Take a listen at this.
You will be arrested. Step out, press. Press, step out. Press has to step out. Step out. Press has to leave.
Can I have your attention, please? This is Captain Mendoza with the United States Capitol Police. You're currently engaged in illegal demonstration activity. Cease and desist or you'll be arrested.
And so, they say that they do those dispersal orders to give people a heads up and to make the decision on whether or not that they want to get arrested. But at the end of the day, where does our First Amendment end and where does illegal gathering begin? Where's the cutoff line? Because we know that almost every ounce of change that we have gotten in this country has come from us standing up, standing against, and not taking no for an answer.
Georgia, that is absolutely the case. This system is totally capable of absorbing most protests. And this is what we're seeing here. They're willing, this system will absorb, they'll take it on the chin in order to they arrested Jesse Jackson. This is going to be a horrible PR, entire fiasco for them, but they'll do that. And why? Ask yourself, why would they do something as callous as arresting one of our elders? That's because it is more important to them to protect this system than it is to even protect their reputation or how they're perceived by the people. And so I say that to say this system will protect itself. And I think one thing that you gotta look at, these are black officers, these are black officers who are giving the orders, and this is not to alienate them or isolate them, but it's to say that this system doesn't have a particular color in terms of who is executing justice or executing what they call justice. This system is going to protect itself, no matter if you're a black person, white person, it's going to do the job. And that's what happened with Jesse Jackson. And you're right, to see one of our elders treated that way, it is disrespectful. And it is certainly, especially because he's still out there fighting. He is still out there fighting for the same thing he's been fighting for all of his life. And so salute to Jesse Jackson for standing for truth to power, even now.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we wrap up on this, with the filibuster, I'm concerned that if this is not something that's a part of our Constitution and yet is another thing that has been created to obstruct our progress, right? Yeah. And how do we, right? They're out there protesting to abolish the filibuster, but what is the legal process to dissolve it?
Oh no, they can have a simple majority vote and abolish the filibuster. It's a majority rule. The rules of the Senate are made by a majority rule, right? And if there's any rule blocking that, that's itself a rule. So they make up their own rules. So ending the filibuster is not going to require a constitutional amendment. It's not going to require Joe Biden to do anything. All it's going to require is that we have enough Democrats to actually want to get something done. And apparently we do not. And here's the last thing I'll say about this. I will say this every single time we have this conversation. That is mighty convenient for an establishment that doesn't want to get anything done in the first place, right? So for us to constantly blame Sinema and Manchin, which is accurate and precise, they are the people who are blocking the way, but they are convenient foils because there are plenty in the Democratic establishment that don't want to actually get things changed for the people.
And when you start to go down that road, I think historically speaking, when you saw less Black people turning out to vote, largely what you would hear is basically both the same party. Because when you have complacent Democrats who are passive, who are not going to use their position or their power. They're not going to stand up against the Republicans, or they're not going to do what they can to make these changes. Then, I mean, most people who I've talked to feel like essentially, I mean, it's,
What's the point?
you know, pick your poison.
Yeah. It's like, what's your point? What's the point? Pick your poison. And here's the thing, like your gut instinct is not betraying you. Now, there are some people who would tell us to just carry the standard talking points of the Democratic Party. Oh, we can't do anything without Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. You're right. We can't. But you know what else is true? It's mighty convenient that all of a sudden that people who have 40 years of experience in the Senate don't have the ability to whip two Democrats into shape, right? They literally have whips, like not whips, not that kind of whip, but Senate whips and House whips, individuals whose job it is to go around and get these senators on board with legislation. And you mean after 40 years of experience, you can't get that done? So it's mighty convenient that all of a sudden, when it comes down to time to do something for Black folks, all of a sudden they're like, oh, we don't know what to do with Joe Manchin. Yes, you do. You just got to be willing to do it.
Are we at a point in our country where we need an alternative party?
No comment.
You ain't trying to go there today.
I pick my fights. I've learned I'm at an age. I have enough grades to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to pick a fight. Right now, we're going to actually, but follow that logic. I'm not going to ever stop your logic, though. Go for it.
I mean, we've heard that a lot here, and there are, you have the Independent Party, the Green Party, which really haven't been that successful, but there have been talks, especially here with Minneapolis being ground zero of there being a Black party and or something else, and I think that at some point, you realize as much as we've been trying to fix this system and figure out how to work with the parties and bipartisanship, and at what point do you just say, you know what, I mean, maybe we can't fix it, maybe we need something new, so I digress though.
No,
that's the
no,
first time
actually,
I've ever heard you say no comment.
Listen. I was about to sing a song of a person who has been canceled, so I am not going to cancel myself, but when an individual is fed up, there's nothing the Democratic Party is going to be able to do to stop Black folks from organizing in our best interest when you have shown us that you do not plan to engage in good faith with us. And by not being willing and able to defend the very basic elements of democracy, which is the ability to vote, you are showing us that you're not really willing to go the distance, not even the distance, I'm sorry, to do the bare minimum for Black people. So when individuals and non-gender conforming individuals are fed up, there's nothing the Democratic Party will be able to do. So y'all might want to get your house in order since you asked, looks like we may have lost Georgia momentarily. So that said, let's do this. David, let's take a quick break. We're going to give Georgia a minute to come back. Technology being what it is, more on the clock right now because she's already back. Hey, there we go.
Hey.
We lost you for a second, but we're back. I filibustered for a few minutes. For a few moments. Speaking of the filibuster.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say, we know that the sentencing is tomorrow. There has been a number of things that have happened across the country over the last few days leading up to this, including the defacement of several statues of George Floyd. There was 2 statues in particular, one that was made out of wood, where we had a group of individuals go and throw paint on it. And then there was another statue of George Floyd in, I believe, New Jersey, where it is him sitting down on a bench. And that one was tagged with different vandalism, different graffiti. Ultimately, police are now investigating this as a hate crime and saying that the individuals responsible, it's probably the same group, because the message that they left on it was actually a website, and that website was the same on both instances. And so I want you guys to take a look here at some of that B-roll. I think we do have it. But you can see the statues there you have it. A statue of George Floyd's face. patriotfront.us was painted on the front of this one here and on the side of the other statue. And so it's, we saw this in Minneapolis as well. The iconic George Floyd mural that's painted on the side of the building where he took his last breath was defaced by a U of M medical student who was caught there Xing out with black spray paint his face. And so here we are, a year later, we've passed the 1 year anniversary. Derek Chauvin's found guilty. He's sentenced today, yet we still have citizens who really just have so much hate in their heart that they have to attack public artwork.
Yeah. It's the thing is about this, Georgia, that they don't even want us to have the symbolism that for us is woefully insufficient. See, Black folks, we're tired of the symbolism, but there's a whole breed of American who is so offended by the symbolism that they are currently up in arms, some rhetorically and some literally. And so to think that our fight is not only against an establishment that really wants to gaslight us with symbolism, our fight is also against the rabid white supremacy in this country that is so deranged and so hell-bent on maintaining power that they get upset about a statue that, to be quite honest with you, is symbolism that we don't need. We need the George Floyd Justice and Police Reform Act passed. That's
absolutely
what we need.
Absolutely. And I think about how many Confederate statues have stood in significant places for decades, if not centuries, in this country, and how few statues that we have of people who look like us. And I do think it is significant. And there's been so much debate about, well, George Floyd, why is he being looked at as a martyr? If you look at his criminal history and and all of this, right? But if we do not remember George Floyd, if we allow this sentencing today to be the last chapter and we move on and we get back to normal and we don't remember what happened on May 25th, 2020, what has our country really learned from what happened? And how, if we don't remember, how do we maintain the tenacity it takes in order to get these bills across the finish line? And when you see someone like Jesse Jackson arrested this week, you're still fighting for the same thing. It's like, this is not what do they say? A race is a marathon. You got to be in it for the long haul. And we need those reminders. We need that visual representation of why we're still talking about this a year after it happened. We need the physical representation to remind us what it is that we're fighting for. Because when you think month after month after month, and if we don't get the George Floyd Policing Act passed this year, and then we have to go into next year, and if we don't get it passed next year, and then and they're gonna morph it, and then you might get some administration who will come in and change the name, and all of these different things that we're going to have to anticipate and to fight against. We deserve to have these monuments so that we can be reminded what we're doing this for.
Yeah. And that's the part, Georgia, right? And perhaps maybe actually I want to look a little deeper into what you're saying, because honestly, maybe that's why they're so adamantly opposed to these statues. And maybe that's more directly, maybe this is why they fight so hard on behalf of the Confederate statues, because it reminds them of what they're fighting for over there. And so they can't let a generation go without sowing the same spirit of the Confederacy. Just like we would never allow a generation of Black people to come into this country that does not understand the road that our people have come through. We're not. And you just have to think in consideration what they are opposing right now, the Tucker Carlsons, the entire machine, the Fox News, the conservative apparatus, Donald Trump, and the entire pan-reactionary movement. What they are opposed to is a history that is being told by the people who have been oppressed, because that will help us usher in a generation of people, white people, not just Black, but white folks who understand the nature of white supremacy. And that's why they're opposed to our statues, and they're so vehemently in support of their own.
And as I prepare today to get ready to go into the courtroom, that will be predominantly filled with white people, I know that there is a chance that Derek Chauvin could be sentenced lightly because of qualified immunity, because he's an officer. I do think that Judge Cahill has shown that he is taking this case serious. And if you ask me, I think he's going to get at minimum, Derek Chauvin's going to get 15 years at minimum, I think. That's just what I'm anticipating. It may be more because the judge did outline 5 aggregating factors. But as I prepare, and you guys, this is a mental preparation. It's a professional preparation that requires you to step into this space, right? I'm preparing mentally. I'm reminded as a biracial woman who identifies heavily with my Black heritage that our history as Black people did not start with slavery. It was interrupted and derailed with slavery. And so sometimes as we are bogged down with all of these different ideologies and all of these, negative, hearing Jesse Jackson's arrested at 79, all of this different stuff, right? Just remember where our history really started. Remember who we are as a people and why our history was interrupted. And I think that should give us, as we go into the weekend here, at least, a little hope and a little joy and some pride.
Yeah. Georgia, real quick before we go, I do want to say this, it is important, is a historical issue. It's important from a justice issue, what's happening today, but it's also important from an independent journalism perspective also, because congratulations to you on getting and securing access to this, because it is a serious moment. It is a moment that we're going to look back and we're looking and seeking justice. But I also think it's mighty dope to have a colleague who's going to be in that room, like one of 2 or 3 journalists that will be there.
Yeah, 2. And thank you. I appreciate that. That was a fight by itself, but Ben, I will say that this was the moment where I realized why God had positioned me to be independent, because I didn't necessarily choose the independent route. People who know my story know that in a lot of ways I was pushed out of mainstream media. But had I have been in this market and been working as a mainstream anchor or reporter like I had been, they would not choose me to go in that courtroom.
Absolutely.
And so I am only afforded the seats in the courtroom today because I'm an independent journalist, and it was something that I had to fight for, to be able to bring the narrative that needs to be told, because we see how Fox 9 waters it down. We see how people like Ben Shapiro, we talked about him earlier this week, how they will twist and turn things, and the narrative matters. It's extremely important. And it's also important to pick up on the nuances that sometimes get left out of other people's reporting. So Ben, thank you so much. And I look forward to being able to share with you guys later today. The sentencing happens at 1:30. And for those of you watching, keep it here for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, people. You know who it is. It's your boy DJ Exclusive. James Bubba Williams is on the ones and twos. Happy Friday, y'all. Like it or not, it's coming up next. Make sure you stay tuned. Shout out MXB. B. White Wakeland, we got you. Good morning, y'all. You might make sure y'all grab your coffee, your tea, your juice, your beverage, whatever it is you need to get your day started. Y'all like it or not, it is coming up next. It's about to go down. We got a great show coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. She's got what you want. She's got what you need. You know she's got everything. So boy, don't you cry. Levi, good morning. Lord, good morning. Good morning, Brother Tyler. Bright Church, Rome, Pew, Braff, 1984. Good morning, y'all. Esther, good morning. Mark S, Roller Dragon, Shay T. Good morning, y'all. Moon Me, good morning. Julie, good morning. I love you too. Shout out to you. Always dropping these gems on us. Appreciate you. Brother Chuck Diesel. Good morning, brother. Good morning. Just come to mama. Kevin, good morning. Luke Kane. Good morning, brother Luke Kane. Yes, sir, it is. Brittany, that's all right. Whatever it is you need to get your morning started, that's cool.
It's Ronnie on the line. Yeah, I know she's stressed, but I gotta say that makes me even more impressed. Cause she juggles it all and does it lovingly. And on top of it all, she keeps on loving me. Her eyes.
Hey, y'all, Walker, good morning. Truth the Dragon, good morning. Miss Martha, good morning.
Just come to mama. Time goes by and yet I wonder. Just come to mama. Still the same. She'll take care of all your drama. It gets your skull and now and under. Just come to mama. Come to your mama. Just come to mama. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Just come to mama.
I like this.
Just come to mama. She's gonna make it alright. Promise to myself and I repeat it in my head.
Nat, hey, good morning. Peter Low Frequency, good morning, everybody. Anna Hart, good morning to you. Hey, man, I'm working on getting this playlist out here. I'm just trying to find a way that I can upload it and get it shared. It's non-copyright music, so I'm having a little bit of difficulty. But y'all give me a second. We're going to work on that, okay? Now, I promise you, next week, we're going to have a playlist for y'all so y'all can go and listen to some songs, all right? Brother Tiger, good morning. What's going on, Tiger?
Do we put each other through hell? Or can we just get over ourselves? I know we should. You cast your spell and
shout out to everybody that's streaming on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you streaming from. We appreciate you. We love you. Hit that like button. Share, comment, and subscribe, y'all. Like it or not, it's starting up next. Make sure that you stay tuned. DB404, good morning to you. Tiger, that's tough, man.
Boy, you had me from the start. By the way you stare, the way you roll upon
It's like one of my favorite songs, if y'all ain't know.
Man, I felt your energy. Wasn't used to being loved and treated differently, yeah. But something went wrong, the signals got crossed, and now we're on completely different pages. Let's go where we were, where no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus, don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Will you take me on a trip? Always up and down and
Alicia, good morning.
Merry-go-round. I just wanna get it right. But when you go left, I'm stuck here feeling left behind. Cause something went wrong, the signals got crossed, and now we're going different directions. Let's go where we were, when no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus, don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby.
All right, y'all, it's time for the show. Anywho, y'all, it's time for Like It or Not to go down. Make sure that you stay tuned, because Like It or Not is about to go down.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it. It's
you know,
funny,
one of these
dude.
days, what's up?
I'm laughing because before I came on, looked at the chat, and Anna said, Bubba, I watched your Can I Address Something at least half a dozen times yesterday and clapped each time.
Wait. You got to jog my memory. You know I'm getting old. What part? I remember you having to get something straight yesterday. What was it?
Yeah. We had a new person, I guess. She really wasn't new. I know I've seen her down there before, but said something about Rebecca being racist. Yeah.
What was it, Rachel or somebody like that?
Was it Janet or Rachel?
It's a derivative of Karen. Is what I know. It was a derivative of Karen.
And she got all the smoke yesterday. I had time yesterday.
Oh, now you jogged my memory. Now I remember it well.
And then when I tell you, and they've been going ham in the comment section, they've been talking about, I watched it at least a dozen times. I'm like, man, my bad, I forgot. Y'all know when I get passionate about something, hey, you gotta come out.
I feel that. I feel that.
How you doing this morning, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Had a great segment with Georgia Fort. She was doing some amazing work.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Then I had to go throw on the hoodie because it's Friday. I'll be like,
bro, you see what I got on this morning, right? I'm like, you know what?
I'm gonna get a Levi's endorsement. Levi's, get it, boy. I need 20. I need 30 of these, so I don't have to and then I'm donate them. I'm not gonna be wasteful. Let me, because it's not wasteful, man. You remember in college, you used to, because you didn't want to go all the way down to the other side of the campus to wash clothes.
Yep.
So you would collect about 30 days worth of underwear. So you only had to go to the wash once a month.
Right.
Am I the only one?
No, you're not. Because, dude, and most times couldn't even afford to wash because the wash house on campus was so dang expensive.
You know what I mean?
All right, like who else can I go over to wash at today?
Come on, black folks at these HBCUs. Come on, y'all know we poor already.
Can y'all give us free laundry? Can y'all
Free
include that
laundry,
intuition?
something.
Man,
Throw that
we were
in there.
paying what, 15, 16,000 already? Like we were freshmen in college, so they
And that
were
was
killing
years
us
ago.
already.
And
That was 98,
that was
99.
years ago. That's back like when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, bro.
Roam the earth, brother. Shut up.
We do have some serious news and politics to talk about, as evidenced by the fact that I have been joined by none other than Dr. Carl Mack. He won't consider himself a historian, but you are our historian, Brother Mack. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, Brother Dixon. How you doing?
Man, that $1 million voice. You know what?
Right.
I'm gonna be real ghetto in a minute and get up and go walk and get this calendar that I have. It's in the other room. But let's start there because you sent me a copy of your 365 days of history of Black history. 360. Introduce it so I don't mess it up.
No, you're doing a phenomenal job. But anyway, back in August 16th of 1990, God gave me this concept of doing this Black History calendar. And it all started because I was at work with this white guy named Henry Cody. And Cody's a beautiful brother. And he was sharing with me about Henry O'Flipper, the first Black to graduate from the West Point Military Academy. And given that we were both engineers, and West Point is the first engineering school in this country, and having been born into slavery, he became the first Black to be admitted to West Point and then to graduate from West Point. And as he's telling me this story, he's looking at me as though, clearly I know this, and I have no idea what this white brother is telling me. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed about it. And that seed was planted in my head. And so God brought it to fruition and gave me this concept to do the calendar that I sent to you. So the first calendar I did came public in 1992. And since then, I've done 4 editions of it. And the last edition I just completed last year. And that's the version that I sent you. But the uniqueness of Black Heritage Day 4 is that every entry is on a day significant to that particular day. So today, June 25th, is Isaac Dorman is on that day. And so, the calendar that you were talking about, this is it. And so literally,
amazing.
Every day of the year, there's somebody out of Black history. So as you see December 7th, as I just do it, that's Dory Miller. And we all know that December 7th is Pearl Harbor Day. And it was on that day that Dory Miller, who was a mess man, stepped aboard the ship, manned a gun that he had never had any training on, and then shot down Japanese planes as they flew in and attacked Pearl Harbor. And so
what we do.
Of Isaac Dorman, it was on this day in 1876 that you had the Battle of Little Bighorn. And this brother was actually with Custer and tried to tell Custer, look, you shouldn't be going up in there. This is a bad idea. And of course, Custer, with his ego, went in there anyway. And our Native Americans, brothers and sisters, they took care of that little bit of business. So anyway, that's what Black Heritage Day 4 is all about. And so the uniqueness of it is, again, because every entry is on a day significant to that day. July 2nd, either Thurgood was born on this day, in this case, this was his birthday. So I either have the people on the day that they were born, the day that they died, or the day that they did something significant. So when I finished the research for this particular calendar, I sent a copy to one of my former students who works at Google, at the Google Foundation. And when he saw it, he was so impressed, but he had seen them before because, again, he was a student of mine and we grew up together learning this history. He sent it to the folks at Google, and then Google was so impressed with it that if you go to your Google Assistant right now and say, hey, Google, what happened on this day in Black history? You will hear an excerpt from the calendar. And of course, they give attribution to the fact that I was the person that
Get the hell out of here. Wait a minute. Wait. Who has a Hey Google somewhere? Because somebody at home, I want you to see if this works. Hey Google, what happened today in Black history?
Right. Now you can't do just regular Google. You have to download the Google Assistant app. Okay. Or if you have a Google Home device, you can just walk in there. So this morning I walked in to get my cup of coffee and my Google Assistant is sitting right there on the counter. So every morning I walk in and say, hey, Google, what happened on this day in Black history? and now you hear an excerpt from the calendar. But so I'll tell you this, and it isn't final yet. But as Google was talking to me, they said, "Well, Dr. Mack, you have a very unique voice. So would you mind being the reader every day of the calendar?"
What?
And I said, "Well, I think that would sound a little bit more appropriate than that white woman or white man about that reading my history."
Right.
Wait a minute. Go ahead and bring let's get a full house here. Let's bring everybody on the screen.
Wait, you don't remember my name, Ben? You were struggling.
No,
Hi, brother Carl Mack. How are you this morning?
I was trying to spare.
Pleasure.
I was trying to spare the listening audience from letting them know that I was bringing you on the stage because it could have flowed really smoothly, but I digress. Brother Mac, I don't think I've had the pleasure of introducing you to DJ Exclusive, James Bubba Williams, or Rebecca Azor, my co-host. This is Brother Mac.
Brother and sisters, a pleasure to meet you.
Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Listen, Brother Carl, like your voice on the day that I wasn't on the show, I got an opportunity to watch it. And it was your voice, it was very captivating. It almost feels like ancestral, for I believe, like especially for Black Americans. And I can hear, I can hear like when you are talking about like when you were giving us the history of Juneteenth, the passion. And although it's not like you're knocking, for people to celebrate liberation, you're just educating us more. Critical race theory, and I absolutely love that. Thank you so much.
Well, sister, thank you so much. And speaking of Juneteenth, I just got to tell you all, and Brother DJ and Sister Rebecca, I'm so sorry that you all were out, and Brother DJ, I think you was having some issues, but anyway, I'm so glad you're back, and it's such a pleasure to meet you. But I gotta thank the three of you for the platform that you've developed, because as a result of this platform, there have been people around the country who have contacted me. And so I just want to if we could just take a moment to just talk about one of the efforts that's going on in Florida. So in Florida, as a result of this word getting out, I had some sisters and brothers to contact me from Florida. In particular, sister by the name of Sister Barnes gave me a call. And so in the state of Florida on May 20th, 1865, so this is literally almost a month to the day before Juneteenth, there was a general by the name of McCook that came into Florida, into Tallahassee, at the Knott House, stepped on the steps of the Knott House and read the Emancipation Proclamation, thereby freeing our enslaved ancestors in the state of Florida. So the problem is that these Black historians who clearly understood Emancipation Day in Florida are absolutely befuddled as to why are the Florida legislatures trying to push Juneteenth on them when they're trying to recognize May 20th as their day of emancipation.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Sister Barnes sent me a video clip of their Juneteenth celebration. Now, when we mostly think of Juneteenth celebrations, we think of the barbecues, the partying, and that level of celebration, which I have no problem with. But when she sent me the clip of their celebration took place at the grave site of the soldiers that fought and died for our freedom. And they had brothers who were dressed in the uniforms of the Union soldiers, Black soldiers, telling the story. And it was one of the most chilling celebrations of commemoration of those whose lives they knowingly gave, that they may die, but for the freedom of us as a people. And what just absolutely infuriates me is that they're trying to speak to Black legislators in the state of Florida to say, why are you pushing Juneteenth on us when you know that General McCook came here and read a proclamation in accordance to the Emancipation Proclamation, which would set May 20th in the state of Florida as Emancipation Day. And these fools, and I'm going to call them fools, and I swear to God, I want the day to just sit before them and have them to try to understand, help me to understand. But if you read the writings of the great Black historian John Hope Franklin. He absolutely he saw this happening in his day, that all they were doing was just following the money. And because Juneteenth sounds sexy as this, and I get Juneteenth, family, I'm okay with Juneteenth. But you can't tell the folks in Florida it ought to be about Juneteenth when they knew that it was May 20th for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
You can't tell somebody, oh, come on, man. That is wow.
That's like telling me that I'm graduating college on one day, but then the actual graduation date is something completely different.
Or if I made it even more personal, brother DJ, I tell you that any other day than your actual birthday is your birthday, and that's the day I want you to celebrate. You like, oh, player?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just like they want us to celebrate July 4th. That's not our Freedom Day. First of all, that in itself isn't our Freedom Day. That's a day for the others to celebrate, and we are not included in that celebration of liberation for us here in America. There's no freedom.
Hold on, Sister Rebecca. That ain't quite true. That ain't quite true. Go and look up Emancipation Day for the state of New York. It was indeed on the 4th of July of that year.
So they snuck one of them in there.
So New York. So New York. Okay. So they can celebrate the 4th of July, but the rest of us, rest of us have different dates. And so I think with Juneteenth, because a lot is unknown, because we don't have, educators such as yourself to help us understand for each, and even you as you're researching, you're getting contacted by people who are educating you, and you're spreading that message. But it's almost like, for each of us who don't know, and for people who have American ancestry, Black people who have American ancestry, who don't know what the liberation date for them and their family was. Juneteenth is kind of like, hey, we don't know, so we're just gonna celebrate in this as a majority, and it sucks because a lot of history was taken away. And so,
Sister Rebecca, you could not have put it any more accurate. That is what our brothers and sisters in Florida are feeling. They're feeling like you're taking away our day of freedom. It was May 20th for us, May 20th, 1865. That's when General Edward McCook came in and read that proclamation, thereby saying that based on the Emancipation Proclamation issued by Abraham Lincoln, we're now free. And you're telling us, forget May 20th, swallow June 19th. That is the abomination of it all. And you could not have put it more succinctly. And when I've spoken to my brothers and sisters in Florida, you could hear the hurt inside of them. And again, the sister sent me an email this morning and said, her niece, who was a lawyer, said, Auntie, all you have to do is follow the money. Now, family, I'm going to tell you something. Juneteenth has a foundation. And in this foundation, they got Juneteenth chapters all around the country. And trust and believe, it is about the money. John Hope Franklin told us that. So of all the things we want to talk about, I am glad that we're circling back around. And I'll tell you why. I used to be the president of the Seattle King County NAACP. And one of the things that I used to watch all the time as I was a youngster, I was Simba. Growing into it, right? I would watch our Black leaders when there was a situation take place. There'd be a knee-jerk reaction, all the media floods in, and of course, all of them want to be there to talk about the situation. But 2 weeks later, nobody's following up to make sure that we get what belongs to us, that justice. And so when I became the president, and I titled myself the chief servant because I wanted to remember that I'm here to serve my community, I would never let an issue go. I needed to win. I needed for our people to be made whole. And so I'm glad that even though many people may not be talking about Juneteenth again, my family in Florida, they're hurting. And I feel your pain. And I asked them, I sent the email linked out for your show, Brother Dixon, and I asked them to tune in. And I just want you all, family, I want you to know I'm with you. I'm going to be with you every day of dealing with this. And if you want me to come down in Florida to be a part of the fight to bring honor to our ancestors who helped free us in the state of Florida, trust me, I'm coming.
Can I say this about Florida though?
Please.
Florida's got some amazing, like everybody. I grew up in Florida. Rebecca, Florida.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, South Florida.
We Florida.
Went to college in Florida. Yeah.
Florida A&M.
And particularly
Deep
Tallahassee.
Hell Wildcats.
Well, Hell Rattlers.
Bethune-Cookman University. Y'all don't even got Hell.
The only university that matters in Florida.
Bethune-Cookman University. Hell Wildcats.
Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. It's funny that you speak of that, Dr. Carl Mack or Brother Carl Mack.
Just Carl.
It's interesting because at FAM, you would think that, well, in the time that I was there, right? You would think that we would know that part of it. Not to say that FAM, because FAM taught me a lot of historical Black gems. A lot of things that we weren't taught so much, when before I got to a historically Black college. And that's why I love it so much. But I wonder why that, especially with me being in that heart, the Blackest part of Tallahassee. And there is nothing, May 20th wasn't a day that I can say that we celebrated there. It wasn't a day that they told us, hey, and we celebrated a lot of things at FAM that were outside of the traditional holidays, but that particular date wasn't something that we were privy to. So thanks for bringing that to my attention.
And I want to tell you, Sister Rebecca, my ex-wife graduated from FAM, and I want to tell you something. And she graduated a chemical engineer, and I've said this many times about her. She's not the smartest woman I ever met. She's literally the smartest person I ever met. So
nice.
I was like,
I knew where he was going. He was somewhere amazing with that because she is a rattler, right?
Because she is a rattler.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing, since I just knew, Brother Dixon, that you were going to bring up Rosewood, and so I want to just tell you my connection to Rosewood. There's a brother down in Florida who was a former state legislator by the name of Daryl Jones. And he's still down in Miami. And it was, and Daryl graduated from my high school, Lanier High School in Jackson, Mississippi. And Daryl was the representative in the state house that actually introduced the legislation to get reparations for the descendants of Rosewood.
Wow. That is amazing.
It deserves. Rosewood is also a hidden story where every time, that was one of the first stories that I heard about when it came to white folks destructing a predominantly Black area that was flourishing. Rosewood was one of the first stories that I heard. And that story sadly isn't abnormal, right? There's other stories that are just like it, unfortunately. But that story is straight out of Florida. It's straight out of Florida.
Camilla, Georgia.
Camilla, right here in Georgia. So,
and I want to tell you this: there is a period in our time, and Brother Dixon, while I'm looking for it, you could do it as well. But in the calendar, I want you to look for a red summer and go to the table of contents. And Sister Rebecca and Brother DJ, I'm going to send a couple of calendars. So I want you to give them you all send me your address so I can.
Okay, gotcha.
I need you all to have one.
Thank you.
Just give me a second about, since we're talking about.
Rosewood?
No, Red Summer.
Red Summer, okay.
And I remember hearing about that once Tulsa was starting to come out a little bit more and they were talking about it more. I did some research and wanted to see the other Black massacres in our country and was just amazed of the number of times. And it's stuff that we're not taught. No one ever told us about this.
Well,
so we have to do our own self-research.
As a matter of fact, look for May. It's on May 21st. It'll be tomorrow that it'll be featured in the calendar. And so let me just read to you about what happened, why they called it Red Summer. It says, on this day in 1919, Black World War I veterans Frank Livingston was burned alive in El Dorado, Arkansas. El Dorado was one of more than 36 cities across the nation that erupted in race riots. Many Black soldiers were threatened for wearing their uniform. Between the late winter of 1918 and the early autumn of 1919, white supremacists, and in some case, the U.S. military attacked and murdered Blacks. This period was described by James Weldon Johnson, author of Lift Every Voice and Sing, as Red Summer because of the amount of Black blood that was shed. So, to your point, these are some of the atrocities that, that happened to us in our history. And of course, when you get the copy, and I'm going to be so honored to send you all copies of it. But again, I just want to close out this Florida discussion by saying to my family in Florida, I can absolutely feel your pain. And when I watched the video last night of your honoring Emancipation Day, it was one of the most humbling, one of the most thought-provoking, one of the most emotional celebrations of Juneteenth I had ever seen. Thank you. And just know that help is coming. And to you Black legislators that's watching this, you are an embarrassment to our ancestors. I swear, you are a freaking embarrassment to them. To be there in the state of Florida, to know that brothers and sisters before you laid their lives down so that you can have the opportunity to sit in a position that you're sitting in now, and for you to forsake that.
Oh Lord, I don't got
that we're not going to forget, and you will be held accountable for it. Now, you could do one or two things. They tell me you could do one or two things with people. You can change people. You can change people. So you can change your mind, or maybe we as Black folks in the state of Florida need to change you. You need to be, and I wish I knew you by name. And when Sister Barnes tells me your name, I'm going to call you out.
I gotta check and make sure it ain't none of my friends over there. Let me reach out to my guys.
You gotta do that, family, because trust me,
get them.
We take them all behind the woodshed and handle that business.
It's what it is.
Brother Carl Mack has put you guys on notice.
No.
I'm gonna text them before the end of the
Brother
syllabus.
DJ, Brother Benjamin, and all of our folks in Florida, we all putting them on notice. You part of that.
On notice.
Yes.
Let the truth be the truth.
Like it or not.
Like it or not.
Come on, somebody.
Oh man,
for all of this today.
Oh yeah. And I love how you can go from, you have the empathy, you have the passion, but you can also take your I wouldn't call it rage, right? But take
call it that.
Okay, I'm gonna call it rage. You can take the rage.
There's a word for it. It's called righteous indignation. I'm sorry, that's the best word I've ever heard.
That's two words, but righteous indignation it's a lot for me. It's a lot for me, but righteous indignation. You can take your audacity, right, and you place it in where it's supposed to be. A lot of times, we're pointing in you. I was just saying this yesterday on the show. It doesn't matter. I think it's very important for us to have on more people like you, Black people who are professionals or who are educating or who are experts at a certain matter. I think it's very important. And in that same instance, I also think it's very important to call Black folks out, right? And it doesn't matter. It's like we're a big family, but we will call everybody out. It doesn't matter. I'm rooting for everybody, Black.
Yes.
In the same instance, if you're doing wrong, we got to call you out.
Yes.
We got to make sure we get to the root of it all, because if we don't, you're going to continue to walk in these specific ways that are specifically against Black people. You're walking those ways because it pays. And it hurts other people. And that's why we got to call y'all out. We got to take that bad apple out. We got to put light on that situation every single time. And to me, who better to come from than somebody who looks just like you?
Rebecca, I'm going to tell you this. I've been called militant. I've been called an agitator. And I didn't take offense to it. And the only reason, and now righteous indignation. So let me tell you where it's rooted from. It's rooted from the advice that Frederick Douglass gave to me. Personally, he gave it to me. And that's the thing, is when you study history, I'm not just trying to trivialize what I learned. I'm bringing what I learned from yesterday into today. So Frederick Douglass personally whispered in my ear, "Hey, Carl, let me tell you something. When they call you an agitator, you tell them this, that any man that professes to favor freedom but detests agitation is a man who wants crops without plowing the field. He wants the ocean without its awful roar. He wants rain without thunder and lightning." And he said, "Carl, you bring the thunder and the lightning."
You do. You definitely bring it, and it definitely roars. It's like, we don't know when it's coming, but it's coming, right?
Brother, before our relationship is over, I am going to have an orchestra playing behind your voice, man, because you bring in the I mean, Mufasa don't even capture it, but even more than that is like the passion for the truth. I think that's what gets lost a lot is that, let the truth be the truth, man, and everybody else be a liar.
Yeah, and Brother Dixon and family, I would make this recommendation in the spirit of healing and bringing closure, at least to our family in Florida, and let this be an example to every other state and every other group out there that's listening to this and understand that, wait a minute, the brothers and sisters in Florida, we're in the very same situation. One of the things is in Leon County, the county executive in Leon County last year gave the employees of the county May 20th off. So he finally came to a recognition of May 20th for the state of Florida. And so one of the things I would recommend for this show is that we bring that executive on. We bring on these Black historians who are fighting for May 20th. And then we invite them Black legislators on who's forcing June 20th down our throat. And let's just have a little session about that. And
now I'm really gonna call my friends and be like, y'all better be on the right side of this.
Yeah. And see, that's what we need to do. So I want to understand from Leon County, from that group, why did you decide to recognize May 20th? I want you to hear from the family of May 20th that's fighting for Emancipation Day in the state. And now I want to hear from the opposition. What is it about June 20th that's got you doing that and making you ignore the brothers and sisters from your state that fought and died for the freedom in that state and across this country? What makes you want to relegate them to nothingness? I'd love to hear from them, and we need to hold them accountable. So I would say, let's have that show. It's okay with you all.
So let it be written. Let's do it.
Okay.
So shall it be?
Let me text my friends and let them know what side they need to be on.
I'm gonna be like, this was all Brother Carl Mack right here.
You better get right, church, and let's go home. Get y'all life together.
Right. Get on the right side.
And I promise you this: it is when you hear from Sister Barnes and you hear from those brothers and sisters. You could, through words, it's one thing for us to talk and you all can see my facial expression. You can hear the tones in my voice as they change. But just through her words, I could hear the hurt and pain of our brothers and sisters in Florida and just the befuddledness of why you're forcing something on us that has, they get the collectiveness of all of our freedom, which could be 1 or 2 days. I get January 1st, 1863. I get that. But see, one of the things people are saying is, well, January 1st, 1863 is when slavery ended. No, that was an executive order. And even if you were to take that as that was the day it ended, if it didn't apply to the border states, then how could you even say that? So I'm not going to try to put lipstick on a pig. It's a pig, okay? So January 1st wasn't the day that all of us was free. The day that chattel slavery ended in this country was December 6, 1865, when Georgia became the 27th state of the 36 states to ratify the 13th Amendment. Now, being that I'm from the great state of Mississippi, there were 36 states at the time that the proposal went out. So only 36 states could have voted to ratify the 13th Amendment. And because Mississippi is last in damn near everything, well, she was last in that too. And Mississippi ratified the 13th Amendment until February 7th, 2013. Good job, great state. And you were the last one to get rid of the Confederate flag. But I'm not disheartened because progress is happening. You did it.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
So
Brother Hart.
My gosh.
If
January 1st, that's actually my culture's Independence Day in Haiti. So January 1st, 1804. Shouts out to that. Yeah, but
I can tell you why too, because of a brother named Toussaint L'Ouverture.
Oh yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh, we celebrate. Oh no, we definitely celebrate. We definitely celebrate. That's a whole holiday for us.
She got the Haitian flag in somewhere within reach and distance, just so you know.
And
it's in the car, it's in the house, and we drink a special soup on that day. It's a big deal.
And Rebecca, let me say this about the French Revolution and Toussaint L'Ouverture. And I want to bring this on this side to America. See, if you go back and read the words of historians, because of what Toussaint and the brothers and sisters in Hades did, they fought a war called Scorched Earth, where they just beat the crap out of Leclerc, who was Napoleon's son-in-law, and they damn near bankrupted Napoleon. And they beat him up so bad and made him spend so much money that Napoleon wanted out of the Western Hemisphere. And because he wanted out of the Western Hemisphere, that's why Napoleon sold the Louisiana Purchase for almost 3 cents on an acre to the United States. And that is what doubled the size of the United States. And trust and believe, that group that went over there to negotiate with Napoleon, they've given credit to Toussaint L'Ouverture for the work that he did that made that purchase of the Louisiana Territory possible for America. So think about that, America. It was that brother over in Hades that made America live out its quest for manifest destiny, to have the land from one sea to the other. Thank you, Toussaint. Appreciate you.
At least they could do. At least they could do. Thank you, man.
That's the least they can do, because what they try to do is erase a lot of Haitians who have definitely helped with a lot of helping America to be America, helping America to have land, helping America fight. And a lot of other countries outside of the US, you know, that Haiti has had a hand in helping liberate those countries. We don't get enough credit. This just recently, there was a whole thing where they were saying the reason why certain flags look the way they do is because that's because of Haiti assisting them with liberation in their countries. But those countries themselves would never teach that in teaching the flag. So they need critical race theory out in other countries too. But let's start here where we are, and let's see if we can get that going. But yeah.
And Brother Dixon, trust and believe, if you look in your table of contents, you'll find Toussaint L'Ouverture. And trust and believe that lesson of what he did to help with the expansion of America is written there. So we're doing it.
You're welcome, America.
You're welcome, America.
Children of the diaspora.
That's from my ancestors. You're welcome.
Okay.
That's right, Sister Rebecca. Raise the clenched fist.
I know that flag is somewhere in there, Rebecca.
It's in the room. It's in the room.
And you know what we ought to do is when we drop that nugget on America, we ought to say, now, you like it or not, America. Not saying you like it or not, America. That's
you
what
like it or not, America.
Truth is truth. But can you imagine? I want to take a break. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to kick it a little bit more. It's Friday and we're getting all this knowledge, all this wisdom from Brother Carl Mack. We want to take a break. But can you just imagine the kind of backbone and spine and that it took to stare down Napoleon, the most powerful empire at the time, and you just a child of the diaspora.
That's all.
And you not only took him on, but you beat him, and you beat him so bad, you made America bigger. You made America great again.
It's giving David and Goliath vibes.
You literally doubled the size of America. And Brother Dixon, when you find the page on Toussaint, I put him on the day that he gave the so-called unity speech, where he stepped before the brothers and sisters of Haiti and said, look, we're going to have this revolution and let us unite as we go into this fight. But, it's just a beautiful, brother, beautiful piece of our culture and our history. So, Sister Rebecca, we humble. As the men, we humble ourselves to you. You're the queen this morning.
Oh, thanks.
It's every morning, Carl.
I know when God made me, he gave you a little something special. I was like, what is it? He's like,
he used to say you too much and not enough, but now you say what,
I'm
Rebecca?
too much and just enough. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God for Jesus.
You too much and more than enough.
Okay.
Hey, take us to a break. More after this.
Sorry, man. Look, David.
David didn't cut him off.
Coach.
Good morning again, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you are enjoying the show thus far. I know I am, and I appreciate Brother Carl for being here. Oh my gosh, getting some damn gems this morning. I appreciate that. So real quick, we are going to go ahead and get these new Patreon members read off while we got some time here. Shout out to Mama and Daddy. You hear the song that's in the background. Mama, good morning, y'all. I love y'all. So here we go. New patrons for today. We have Bianca R, Brandon C. Our new Twitch subscribers. We have Praynay 1976 who resubscribed with Prime, and they've already been subscribed for 8 months. We have Samalin, the Con Dragon, who subscribed for 1 month, and they've been subscribed for 3 months already. Mimosa Dragon gifted 1 subscription to Lawsuit. And then we have JN Lee 1981 who gifted 1 subscription to Dan Arcus 46. We have Never Turnier Cheer 203 bits. And Good Morning Comrade Radio rated with a party of 3. And we appreciate that raid, y'all. Hey, make sure that if you need to, because you want to, join the Patreon. Patreon.com/LikeItOrNot. Patreon.com/LikeItOrNot. And you too can become a member, become a patron member. Patron parties by yours truly, which is going down next week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, next week. I think so. Anyway, we'll see. Keep it posted right here. Y'all like it or not. More coming up, all right?
I got nothing but love for all my mommies.
Let me say it.
If it wasn't for her, then it would not be me. I got nothing but love for all my mommies. Represent. No matter what, for her baby, she gon' hold it down. Remember all the times when I was out here running wild.
Shout out to all the mamas that's listening, y'all. Appreciate y'all so much. We love you.
Say I make her proud. No matter what, for her baby, she gon' hold it down. Remember all the times when I was out here running wild, doing everything and anything to make her smile. I just love it when my mama say I make her proud. If it wasn't for her,
and it wouldn't be a Friday if we ain't play this. So here we go, y'all. Y'all ready?
Nothing but love for all my mommies.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match, labor handed down to me. But I'm still fly. I know.
I'm still fly. Let's go.
It could all be worse. I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill.
It's Truth the Dragon, not the long blinks. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in this morning. Make sure that you hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, y'all. Let's like it or not.
I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out.
Brother Diallo, good morning. Six Dragon Daddy, what's going on, brother? Man, Six Dragon Daddy shared a bit of information with me yesterday that I was just definitely got to talk about that on the show one day. I got you. Shay T, yes it will. All weekend long, you will be still fly.
I'm still fly. Let's go.
Love you, mama.
I could be a hater like you. Close to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you from the inside out.
Malia, that is so adorable, Latif. Oh my gosh. You definitely got to send us a video of her singing, okay?
I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh, Everybody going somewhere. Young or old, I really don't care. Life has never really been fair. So put your fist up in the air. Say, yeah. I'm young, I'm free.
It's my favorite part.
Can't nobody.
All right, y'all. It's more time for. See, I get happy and excited. Brain get messed up. All right, y'all. It's time for More Like It or Not, y'all. Here we go.
It's my time to ride. I'm young.
Hey, I like the filter.
Here and now, it's my time to ride it out.
This is our national anthem here on this show, Brother Mac. This is our national anthem. Back in the day, Earth, Wind and Fire, they had their national anthem. That's the way. Bum, bum, bum. Every time they play that, they would say, "This is our national anthem." On our show, this is our national anthem.
Right.
So anyway, Professor, I'm going to always refer to you as Professor, because you be schooling us on here, and I appreciate the way you do it. You do it. You educate. I mean, what's the point of knowledge if you can't pass it down? Right. And you're not making you've never made any of us feel ignorant because we didn't know. But if now you also are the same type of brother who will say, like, if you just are going to ignore the truth, then you stupid as hell. So you ain't gonna coddle us long, but you're gonna give us an opportunity to learn. Talk about it.
And Brother DJ and Sister Rebecca, I just want to give you a little bit of background. I'm from Jackson, went to Mississippi State, and I studied mechanical engineering. So I wasn't a historian by academic training. And so I still consider myself a student. So to anybody and everybody out there, if I say something that's in error or wrong, or you're asking me some question I don't know, I can easily tell you I just don't know. But trust and believe, I will go and try to research it and find it. So I consider myself a student of history. So I just want to put that out there. I ain't trying to be the be all to know all. That ain't.
Well, no, well, these are places where we have to understand, we have to know. I just literally told you I went to school and graduated, fortunately, from the number one HBCU in the nation, and never was taught about May 20th.
Father, forgive her, for she knows not what she did.
So agreed. And
I don't know if that's written.
But having you here, and tell me more about a little bit more about Tallahassee's history, Leon County, a county that I actually worked in, went to school in, lived in for years. And on the black side of the tracks, you teaching us or teaching me that it's a big deal, because there are a lot of things that we don't know, but you have taken time to put in the work to research. And not all of us are experts in certain areas, but you best believe it's going to be somebody out there who knows something, that we can tug on and pull on to come teach it. So
that's right. And sister, think about this from a historical Black colleges and university standpoint. It was the Lincoln administration that literally set that in motion. So they started a group, because one of the things they wanted to do is say, look, we're going to have 4 million Black folks that are now going to be free. And so what do? So they knew that they needed to give land to the newly freed slaves, to the newly freed enslaved. And that's another thing. So sometimes I may make that mistake, and we'll all do it. We should never say slave, because slave implies that we were born a slave. That's the way God intended us. No, we were enslaved. And the reason we need to say enslaved is because it reminds us and whoever it is that we're speaking to that somebody put us into slavery, right? So the term should be enslaved. So the Lincoln administration understood that. So they started the Freedmen's Bureau. And the Freedmen's Bureau was to do several things: to give land to the newly freed enslaved, to give political power to the newly freed enslaved, and to give education to the newly freed enslaved. So it was out of the Freedmen's Bureau that was chaired. It was run by a man named General Oliver Otis Howard. And General Oliver Otis Howard is who Howard University is named in honor of.
That's right.
So a lot of our historical Black colleges and universities came out of the Freedmen's Bureau.
Professor Mack, you're supposed to let me sound smart there, because you told me that like 3 weeks ago, and you're supposed to let me jump in there and say, like, That's the founder of Howard University.
There
And
you go.
then we all pretend like, oh, Ben is so smart.
Because me and Bubba was like,
But all that happened was he and I talked about this like a week and a half ago. But you have made me sound so much smarter. And I thought I was a smart dude already. So
you are.
Thank you for making me feel. No, honestly, no. I had a conversation with my brother-in-law. We were in Alabama just this past weekend, and we were talking about Juneteenth, because that's what everyone is talking about right now. And we're talking about the historical inaccuracies of it. And I'm just going down the line. I'm talking about December 6, 1865, as opposed to the Emancipation Proclamation. And I'm going down the line. And then I was like, you know what, let me just keep it real. I didn't know this a week ago. I didn't know any of it a week ago.
That's all right.
I learned it from Professor Mack.
Well, let me say this as the professor. You are getting an A for the most improved student in the class.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Shouts out to Professor Douglas, my calculus teacher at Bethune-Cookman.
Lord.
It was college at the time.
Right.
He would be so proud. I have finally improved since the first time I met him at Bethune-Cookman. Because he kicked me out of his class so many times. I swear I don't know.
Even I knew that. They used to always kick Ben out of class. Man, where you going? No, man, just got kicked out of class.
What were you doing to get kicked out of class?
I used to come late because I used to party.
They don't play that HBCU.
I was partying too much.
To come early is to come on time, and to come late, don't even show up.
Man, early is to be on time.
Y'all know that scene. Y'all know that scene in A Different World where Dwayne Wayne and the Jada Pinkett character. I wasn't Jada Pinkett because obviously it was just not beautiful, but I was the bad calculus students who could do it in his head, and Professor Douglas wasn't having it. I finally got an approval from a professor, and it's Professor Carl Mack.
Well, there you go. Now, Sister Rebecca, I will tell you the first time that I ever heard what you just said, and it was from a sister that went to FAMU, went to an HBCU, and her name was Chauncey Lundy. And so if you know anything about the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, it is a student-run organization. So even though I was the executive director, I answered to college students. They were my bosses. They hired me. They set my goals. They determined if I got a raise or not. So she was the national chair at the time that I was hired. So it was under her administration that I was hired. And I must have walked into a meeting that let's say it started at 9 o'clock, and I walked in at 9 o'clock. And she said, "Why are you late?" I said, "What time does the meeting start?" She says, "It starts at 9 o'clock. I said, "Well, it's 9 o'clock. She said, "Listen, to be here at 9 o'clock is to be late. To be here 5 minutes before is to be on time."
And to be late, don't even show up. That's exactly.
Now, if we're going to do it, we got to do it right.
FAMU taught me that. And they got me together. They got me together right.
James,
when I had that.
You want to do it or shall I?
What are you going to do?
I got it. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. To be late is to not bring your ass at all.
So that's pretty much what I
said. Now the Jesus version of it is to be late is to be unacceptable. That's the one.
They didn't teach me the Jesus version when I was getting my butt beat in college for that. So no.
Yeah, no, and that's what I love about it, because it really it did something in me, because
it did for me too.
To any class late. Or to be on time, I'll pull up on time. Everyone was already seated, and here go me squeezing in. Excuse me. And then
I was mad disrespectful. That should have been.
Be like, "Miss Azor, you can walk out." As she's teaching, "Miss Azor, you can walk out." And I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And then I did not like to be embarrassed, so then I didn't come. But when you don't come, what are you doing? You're failing the class. So then, listen, you become the student that comes on time. Like you come literally 5 minutes before, 15 minutes before. You get your seat, and she's ready.
It's bad. I wish I should have gone to an HBCU a little bit later in life, because if I had gone a little bit later in life, I would have been 15, 20, 30 minutes early. Because that's where I am in my life now. Back, I would be setting up the desk for the teacher, because I just want to learn, right? At the time, man, I was so disrespectful to Professor Douglas. I used to come to class 30 minutes late and then get mad at him for not letting me in. It's just some of us weren't ready for college but Professor, I'm definitely ready for the knowledge that you've been dropping and bringing, and we hope you keep bringing it bringing it around here because
Well, let me say this, brother. I think Professor Douglas would say to you, no, Brother Dixon, you weren't disrespectful to me. You were disrespectful to yourself.
There it is. There it is.
But let me say
You're
this.
giving me flashbacks.
Now, wait. Now you're getting too close to home. Now, wait. No, I didn't come here to be lectured this morning by. You're triggering me. You're taking me.
Get it today, Ben.
Daytona Beach, 1998.
Picture it.
That's hitting close to home. The Daytona is right there at home because again, that's where my ex-wife is from Daytona. But let me say this, Brother Dixon. Let me say this, Brother Dixon.
Yes, sir.
You sent me the day after Father's Day a piece entitled, I believe it was entitled "My Child," and Sister Rebecca and DJ Exclusive. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know that I've ever heard a poem, and trust and believe, no disrespect to Sister Maya Angelou. None. No disrespect. But
no, don't do that.
No, and I don't intend to. And certainly in our community, when Sister Angelou unveiled "I Rise," it just became an anthem, especially for Black children.
Yeah.
Brother Dixon, what you sent me, the words, the way that you read it, the authenticity of it, when I posted it, again, it was a message to Black fathers, but I had sisters and brothers alike who all agreed that was the anthem for Black parents. And when I tell you beautiful, and I'll tell you again in front of the world, were I in charge of awarding a Pulitzer Prize, you would have got it.
Yeah.
If I was in Hollywood and I was in charge of the Academy Awards, you would have got it. Given that I am the professor of like it or not, you got it.
You got it. I was going to say.
I like it.
Can I get my degree now?
Award him here because we can.
I got a confession. My actual degree is not from Bethune-Cookman University. I dropped out. I lost my Cosby scholarship, which is probably a good thing because all things considered.
Oh, wow.
And it took me a little while, but I have finally got my degree conferred from an HBCU, and it's the HBCU of Like It or Not University, where the prelate. I don't know what's the terminology. What is the terminology for universities? What's the highest position at a university? Besides the president, I guess. Okay, so we're the president of our university. Yeah. President of Like It or Not University is President Carl Mack. Well, I feel so honored.
To put a little sugar on the fact that you dropped out, let's say this.
And then we have 100 in the background.
Yeah, the crime ain't getting knocked down. The crime is not getting up. And
I got back up.
There you go.
Yes, sir. We got back up.
So
That's right. Yeah.
We got back up. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have the HBCU in your blood. And
no, the HBCU has some of my blood.
Well, Ben, the hazing that happened, we're not talking about the hazing that happened while you were in the band.
We don't haze. What are you talking about?
It had nothing to do with the band.
The hazing that happened. It's like going to an HBCU is like, it's almost like there's hazing processes there naturally just going in. Because they're going to be like, how Black are you? How Black can you be? Or we going to strip all of that wherever you came from? Because when I got there, I was a little Haitian, bohemian chic, came from like a mixed, town. And they was like, sister girl, listen, hey. Over here, we're Black, and I'm gonna need you to understand what Black is. And I left there saying, listen, I am Black and I am proud. And everywhere that I applied for a job, I'm like, you gonna get this Blackness. No. You gonna get this Blackness.
Y'all want to play a game? This is like most of the games I come up with so far have been pretty horrible. I think this one is gonna be pretty good. They have been pretty bad. I should practice them before I come on air. I should, but this one is easy because you said something, Rebecca, and it really touched my heart. You said Black is, and let's just go around one time and just say what is just one word. Black is what, and you can say Black is. I'll start. Black is magnificent. Professor Mack.
Uplifting.
Rebecca.
Unapologetic.
James.
Magical.
It's the best game I ever came up with.
You got that one, Ben.
It went correctly. Look, another Ben. What you doing? Showing off for the teacher? Like, cause you never
Right.
I never get it right. I mean,
Rebecca, like how long we been doing this and he hasn't got that right yet? And now you want to get it right today?
Ben is throwing out games like, hey y'all, y'all gonna like this one.
And it'd be so whack. It'd be so off. It's just like you're supposed to practice it before you come on air, but some of them like some stuff you ain't got to practice. You ain't got to practice your blackness.
A whole white guest on here, and Ben will be like, "Let's play a game," and I'm like, "Okay, that's."
And then the guest is like, "What the hell did I just sign up for?"
How black are you? And then the person was like,
"So, Sister Rebecca, I got the question to determine whether or not you're black enough."
Oh, here we go.
What's your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid?
Ooh, I got it first. Red.
Wait. Here's another one. Wait, I got one. What's your favorite flavor of Czech soda?
Red.
The red.
Cola. Red.
Do we know the red can?
Listen, red. There's a good answer, but the correct answer is peach. If you're from the South, you know peach Czech soda.
Oh,
all right, go ahead.
Czech. Okay.
Orange can.
I know peach soda.
We don't even say it's peach.
Wait. Here's a question. Do you know what Winn-Dixie is?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, well, you got to know what peach. You got to go down
you
got to go down the diabetes aisle and go down and get the Czech soda.
Look, man, I'm down with that. We knew where it was. We just didn't have enough money to buy it, so that
you ain't gonna make me sound like I had money.
But Ben, you knew you wasn't. You said it. You were living hood adjacent.
I was hood adjacent.
You say hood adjacent.
Ben says, but Ben, that's what Ben says. He coined that. He was living hood adjacent.
Listen, hood adjacent still don't mean you got money. Like we were.
No,
we
but
were
that means that you can buy
we were
the
hood
check.
adjacent and still going to the same
Santa,
women,
check.
infant, and children. Women, we were same WIC. We went to the same WIC. Women, infant, the government cheese as everybody else. But
y'all had the house across the street. That was like,
yeah.
All
But
right.
that's because houses were cheaper back then. You know,
Oh, yeah.
my dad could have one job and afford to buy a house. Houses were like $30,000 back then. What are you gonna pay for a house today? What you gonna get for $30,000 in any city?
A bird piece of land, right?
In Florida, you ain't gonna get nothing. You ain't even gonna get a piece of land. You ain't gonna get nada.
All I can say
It depends on what part of Florida. St. Pete, you can probably get you like Carl said, a trailer or a driveway.
What
you about to say? Area to build you a tiny house.
Y'all warmed my soul with that answer of red, because I tried to tell people universally, when you want to know, you ask somebody what, and I asked one brother this. He said, no. He said, Carl, you didn't ask me what my favorite color was. You asked me what my favorite flavor was.
Yeah.
At that point, I said, player, you done told me all I need to know.
All I need to know.
Right there.
All I need to know. And it doesn't matter where you're from. You just know that red is the flavor. Red, and we know. You say red. I taste it in my mouth. I see it. I see how it's staining the plastic cups. I see that if that falls on your furniture, it's done. Like we know that red.
Wait a minute, Rebecca. Ain't nothing falling on nobody's furniture when grandma was plastic all over it.
That's another black staple.
You know how many pounds of sweat on those plastic? Oh my God.
And that transcends all black folks, whether it doesn't matter what nationality you are. It definitely go. Like, I'm Haitian. We had living room spaces that never changed for a long period of time because grandma was like, hell no, you guys are not sitting in that area. So you're not.
And then don't forget the plastic floor runner. They used to guide the path.
If it flips,
with the little spikes things.
With the little spike things on the bottom of them. Yes.
You were done.
Right.
And if you got real stupid, like I used to flip it over and roll on the back and pretend like you're getting, the little, stuff. The little thing. Yeah. Anyway, I had issues. I was a problem child.
Ben,
I was bored.
Don't worry, Ben. My brother and my sisters used to do the same thing, bro. It's okay.
I hated that.
But check this out. Can I ask? Let's do another thing here real quick. James, have you ever met Rebecca in person?
No.
Professor Mack, have you ever met any of us in person?
Negative.
And we all got the same
stories.
And see, the thing is, I think when we bring somebody on and we're trying to figure them out, that's the question we need to ask. In your home, somewhere when you were growing up, was there plastic on the furniture? And if the person goes, no,
you ain't a brother.
And we know we in for something.
Yeah, we know there's some action there, and also I don't know if this was maybe a cultural thing too. In the kitchen or any like doorway or pathway, we had like the beaded the damn beaded drapes. They're like, why would that was the alarm system for any black household. If you went out late, you had to come through the back door, that beaded drape would be like, and then parents would be up something, or you in the kitchen, you were supposed to be in the kitchen, all of that, them damn beaded drapes.
No, I didn't have to worry about the drapes because our alarm system was them street lights. You better be home before
the street lights come on.
Mm-hmm. My mom used to stand outside and call my name. It was always embarrassing. I was like, why is she doing that?
It's a little different right now though, because maybe because my kids are so young. Like I want my kids to have that street yard like experience. I want you to play outside till the street lights come on, but it's a little different. 2021. So I'm outside. Listen, I'd be outside playing with them. That's the truth. It's like,
look, ain't nobody gonna play with my kids.
So me and the kids, we all outside until the street lights come on because it's 2021. So that's the closest they're gonna get to my childhood, because I ain't leaving them out there by themselves. You crazy.
Right.
But we were out there by ourselves. And that's crazy because it wasn't safe for black kids then, but it was more safe than it is now. You would think now it would be safer for our kids, but we're so afraid because now these racists and these weirdos are out just with their hoods off.
You mean cops? You say weirdos like cops.
And speaking of cops, I want to do a soft pivot. I know we do hard pivots a lot here, but speaking of cops, the one that killed Tamir Rice, and today he would have been, was it 19 years old or 17?
You're not gonna walk me right into that, are you?
One of those ages. I'm going to lightly walk you into it. We don't have to go into it. But and we know that there is, she has been speaking out against activists who have been using her child's death to rally around Black Lives Matter, or to build their platforms, or to bring attention to the other people who have been gunned down, Black people who have been gunned down by police officers. And right now, Tamir Rice has been speaking out. This is not the first instance, but just in the last few days, she has spoken out against activist Shaun King. But right before that, she spoke out against a lot of the Black Lives Matter leaders. And a lot of people had shut her claims down. But I think it's important for us to talk about this, although there is, in some way, shape, or form, I'll say I have been close to the situation as far as working for Shaun King or under Shaun King, and just working in that environment, seeing how a lot of these activists move in those spaces is very interesting. But when they're called out by the mother of a child that has been taken by law enforcement here in America, and when they're called out by the mother saying, hey, stop using my child's likeness, stop using my child's death, I don't want this anymore, I want it to disconnect, and you are continuously using it and gaining funds or whatever the case may be. And not only that, you have called this woman a liar, you have called this woman a liar, but still using her child's name. It's just very interesting, and all of this is happening and unfolding online. And I've said so many times, there are many activists in these spaces for years before Black Lives Matter who had a passion going in. Yeah. But for somewhere along the line, when that money gets to you, when that fame gets to you, you kind of just utilize the names of these people's dead kids for your fame, and that's it. And that's it. And Samira, she's said so many comments and she's called him out. And most recently, this is the first time that I've ever seen any action happening against that man, as tough as it is. And there were lots of people who have many, many followers who have said so many things against this man, who have written publications, me being one of them, a part of those publications, to speak against this man and what he does. But it was the mother of the child that finally said something. And to me, and this is the second time she said something, but it was her that had brung this man at least a couple notches down, because there are so many people who believe in false prophets, and I do call him a false prophet. And they're starting to see what we've been saying all along, which you can just Google and find.
Sister Rebecca, I don't know the controversy behind Shaun King. So if you could you educate me on that?
Well, I can speak from a personal point of view, and for me, there's no nothing will happen to me. So that hasn't already happened. But Shaun King, I worked with him in
just for the sake of, ain't nothing gonna happen to me either, though.
I just that ain't my business. I got speak from my point of view, and what happened with me. Worked under Shaun King alongside Benjamin Dixon, but worked under Shaun King, and I watched him I watched him as an activist. I loved him in his work as an activist, trusted his work as an activist. Even people were reaching out saying, hey, watch out, hey, be careful. Even the research that me and a few others had done on him. And in our first week of working there, never seen him a day in our life, was under the leadership of Benjamin Dixon. At what we call the North Star, which was supposed to be a network where we were able to put on shows and give Black journalists opportunities and bring light to so many more situations and stories surrounding Black people, good or bad. And so much partnership that happened that was so amazing. We met with great people and things like that. Me never personally having the opportunity to actually see Shaun King in person, because he never came down to where the work was being done. But was getting all the credit for it. And there was a young lady who actually called him out here in Georgia. Clarissa was her name, and she went to a university here, and she called him out saying, where's the money? And this was surrounding a situation with Tamir Rice, where there was funding that happened and that was being questioned. And she called it out. Hey, where is that money? You're an activist. You raised a certain amount of money. Where is that money? And what he did was use his 1 million followers, an attack. He posted about her, and they attacked this young woman who was a young journalist who wanted to come and flourish as a journalist. He attacked her and also contacted her school. The dean of her school, who had a partnership with Shaun King, also contacted them to scare her into retracting her statement.
Sister Rebecca, before you go on, you keep alluding to the work, and I'm thinking in the terms of our audience. When you say the work, what was the work that Shaun King was doing that garnered so many followers and so much financial?
The work was activism. The work was being in the front of the stories, specifically of Black children or Black people dying. And this is
law enforcement.
Yes, police. Okay. And all of those stories, as well as me working under him, was that a lot of people reached out to me that worked alongside him as well and said, hey, I'm the one that broke this story about this particular thing. But all Shaun King did was post what I said. And or I'm the one that has been out on the streets, and all Shaun King did was say my eyewitness account of the situation. And then that's exactly what happened with what we were working with the North Star. I can say this, and this is coming from my mouth, Benjamin Dixon was the one doing the work, yet Shaun King was the one being credited with what the North Star was doing.
Benjamin Dixon, our Benjamin Dixon.
The one sitting right here. So I say that because not to bring him into the conversation. Like I said, this is me, and this is, I can speak about this. And I just feel that, having to work alongside him, seeing what he did, what he was capable of doing to a student, and trying to take her down, and Black women had to come together on social media and tell Shaun King he needs to stand down for that. And also, me watching it as it happened and unfold right before my eyes, because I was literally inside of that thing that he was working with, that he never even touched, never even appreciated. But I watched him, Benjamin Dixon, do a million jobs to keep it afloat. A whole system going, hire people. He wanted to make sure everybody was getting paid correctly. All of that. It was a lot of things going on. But like I said, he's only one of the many activists that people have accused of doing the work but using people's children's deaths to get paid, and the funds are being questioned as to where they're going. Now, for activists, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be paid for their work, but you got to be actually doing the work. And also, don't go ahead and profit off of the deaths of these kids, not contacting the parents and telling the parents that you're going to rally for them, you're going to raise money for them, and give them nothing, as you're creating and making so many movements and killing the movements before they can even go anywhere, but you've already crowdfunded millions and millions of dollars.
All right, so Sister Rebecca, look, I just want to be sure I understand what you're saying to me. Is that this guy, Shaun King, and I'm assuming he's a brother?
So they say.
Okay.
So they say, but yes, he is.
so this guy who I've seen post, I've seen people post about his work, and this work is that he was breaking these stories of police brutality, police murders, and those of you who were, quote, working under him never met him. He didn't do the actual work or research of it. You all did it, but he put it out there as his own, garnered these millions of followers.
Yep.
Money started pouring in. None of the money went to aid the families of the victims.
No.
And when questioned about what's going on with the money, he in turns criminalizes the people asking the questions about transparency.
Exactly.
Is that accurate?
This I can say is accurate from my standpoint with me at the North Star. Now, with all the other families and friends and people that he's worked with and things like that, I can't say so. And for as far as the North Star that I worked with, and it mirrored so many other things that Shaun King projects that Shaun King would crowdfund for. And nothing would come of the networks that he was building that were supposed to be for Black people. And he literally tried to, I feel like, blacklist me because I spoke against him. Just little old Rebecca Azor. I spoke against him and I challenged him. For me, it had to stop somewhere. I watched him do this. And I already sat by, not idle, but I sat by in the background and watched him do this to a young journalist. And I had to say, oh, excuse me, are we going to talk about this? Are we going to make something happen with this? Are we going to, we got to talk about what he's doing to this girl. So I reached out to Shaun King and said, hey, we need to speak with you. Me and my two other colleagues, hey, we need to speak with you on the situation. There has to be a conversation about this. You can't attack people about something that could possibly be true. You can't do that. And so, this network that was supposed to be the North Star was supposed to be great and was supposed to be big. It was supposed to be us fighting for the families in a way of a lot of these police who have taken these kids' lives, and there was no actual media space for the stories to be told correctly, right? Yes, we'll see the threads on Twitter, but now we have this whole network where we can actually bring these mothers on the scene, talk about the situations, have the conversations for what they are. And that was that was one of the parts that, to me, I was so excited to be able to talk about politics from a Black perspective, to talk about great stories of Black people doing great things from a Black perspective, and to talk about police brutality. I'm talking from a radical perspective, right? And that was going to be so amazing. But because of all that was done and nothing that came of it, and this is the thing, he can literally use these people's money, the crowdfunding, pick up, say he's going to do something and disappear and have nothing. And
okay, so my question to you is, because there's a question about the lack of transparency of the funds, and that's been posed to him, has he then come out to say, okay, I want to be completely transparent and show you exactly what kind of funding is coming in and exactly what we're doing with the funding? Has that level of transparency taken place? So
yes, there was a whole thing that we did asking and breaking down with DeRay, where we all came in together, created this whole thing, asking for each project where the money went, and showing what was made and things like that. And then he came out with something. It was almost like Donald Trump showing his taxes, right? It was very questionable. And he came out and said this is where my money went and things like that, but nothing was adding up. And so a lot of people were like, well, let's give him a break. Let's give him a break. He's doing good for the people. And a lot of people were showing, hey, he stole my work. He stole my work. He stole my work. He stole my work. But a lot of people were saying, hey, well, your work is available online. But they're saying, no, he stole my work and gave himself credit. He literally, not too long ago, coined himself a historian.
So in this level of transparency, what about the families of the victims that he was supposedly speaking for? Were those families contacted and asked directly, how much funding did you receive as a result of trying to help? Now, again, not trying to make money off of the tragedy that happened within the family, but again, when something like that happens, you want to support the family, be it in their legal issues, trying to get funeral arrangements, whatever it is. Were families asked about what type of financial assistance they were given as a result of King's work?
So most recently, a few mothers, when the story came out about a few other leaders with the Black Lives Matter movement, and some mothers had came out on behalf of people outside of Shaun King, although Shaun King was added into the conversation, saying, hey, you know, some of this money has been out to me, or this hasn't affected me, but Samira Rice has stood on what she said. And another, and I forget who it is, another person who had to deal with losing their child to police brutality or to police killing their kids, you know, had spoke out with Samira Rice. And they both were saying, we haven't received anything. Shaun King has said X, Y, and Z, and hasn't done anything for me. So he needs to stop using my child's death to make any money. And this is for Samira Rice. And this you can actually Google, or you can go on her Twitter page and you can see her literally listing down exactly what's happened. This is available all over the place, and it's made you know, midstream media for conversation wise, because he's so protected in this media space. Because Shaun King plays both parts of the matter. He is the face for Black people when it comes to speaking on police brutality in mainstream media. So mainstream media will protect him until they feel like they can't anymore. So now, right now, Shaun King can literally say, oh, you know, hey guys, I know you've been hearing he can send out an email, because he does this all the time. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's watching right now knows what I'm talking about. When the heat is going on to Shaun King, what he does is sends out an email. And he says, hey guys, I know that you see all that's going on, but I need your help. And that's how he usually starts his emails off.
Let me say this in the area of transparency. So I used to sit on the board of trustees for a college in upstate New York, in Potsdam, New York, Clarkson University. I was the only African-American board member there. And this was during my time when I was executive director of the National Society of Black Engineers. And so this is where they presented me with an honorary, prior to me joining the board, they presented me with an honorary doctorate because of my body of work, things I did in civil rights, things I was doing to help bring more African-American children into the field of engineering. So this body of work. And as a result, I received an honorary doctorate. And then later they said to me, you know, Dr. Mack, would you consider joining our board of trustees? And I said to them, there's only two reasons why you ask people to join boards of trustees, either their influence or their affluence. And I ain't got no money to be sending to your university like that. And they laughed and said, no, we want you for your influence because we want to bring about diversity to the university. And so I sat on the board for a number of years. And as I questioned the admissions office about the number of Black kids in particular that were being recruited to come to the university, that number stayed low. And so one of the things I said to them is, we should grant, and sitting on the board of trustees, you would watch every year when the submissions comes for honorary doctorates to be given. And that process would literally take 2 minutes. The person who's presenting the individual for an honorary doctorate would speak on their behalf. They wouldn't read their bio because it would be in our packet so we can all read for ourselves, but they would speak just about why they think this person is worthy of such a high honor from the university. And that process would take less than 2 minutes per person. So in my thinking, nobody knows, Black folks, we don't know where Potsdam, New York, where it is, cold up there, a white liberal engineering school, but a phenomenal engineering school. So I said, in order to put Potsdam on the map so that our children would know, and one of the things about being a Black in engineering is that you're one of few. So you have this feeling of isolation, and to know that you're coming to a university that cares about you and wants to wrap their arms around you and ensure your success, you know, that's important. So I said to them, in my life, the three greatest movements that I can think of in my life was the modern day civil rights movement, the election of Barack Obama, and Black Lives Matter. And I said that about Black Lives Matter because I had never heard police brutality and police misconduct in our community. We've always spoken about it, but I've never heard this was talked about in presidential debates.
Yeah.
Clearly the movement had galvanized this country in a way that unlike anything I'd ever seen around police brutality. So I said to the board, I want to nominate the founders of Black Lives Matter. That was Patrisse Cullors, Opa Tomenti, and Alicia Garza. And so when I presented these three sisters, along with Deb Gillum, so you got
love Alicia Garza,
Deb Elam, and so you got to imagine that I'm presenting to the Board of Trustees 4 Black women at one time to be granted an honorary doctorate. In the history of this university, they've never granted an honorary doctorate to more than one Black person at a time, let alone the number of them. So I got 4 Black women. Now, Deb Elam was with GE. Her body of work speaks for itself. But when it came to speaking to these 3 Black women, about these 3 Black women, that conversation took almost an hour before they granted those awards. And it was during that time I got a chance to hear, what I consider the most dangerous element in this country. See, I'm not worried about the white supremacists. I'm not worried about them because you know where they sit. The most dangerous element for progress of Black folks in this country are the so-called white liberals. And I got to see that. And as a result of this, I ended up resigning from the board. Now, the doctorates were granted, but I talked about the fact that we need to make this a national issue. Let's send out to US, to all the top media, to all the Black press, that this is what this institution is doing, so that now Black children be like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that college up in upstate New York that I never heard of is giving honorary doctorates to these Black women? Let me take a look at this university. So it would be a way of letting Black families all around the country whose children are interested in engineering understand that we're creating a climate which is going to welcome and ensure the success of your child.
It would have been a signal. It would have been a signal to say your kids are safe here.
Absolutely. And instead, they kept it on the hush hush. And so now, and I'm saying this to you, that these sisters were granted honorary doctorates because of what we did at Clarkson. And so now, trust and believe, I got to think in some kind of way when I saw the news come out about Patrisse Cullors, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, purchasing a $3 million home up in California, and then all of this flack started coming in. So I'm sharing the story because it's in line with what you're talking about with Shaun King. And I think that opens up another level of discussion of what do we expect of Black activists when these types of funds come in and that whole thing. So in the area of transparency, I'm just telling you that this issue is close to me for the story I just shared with you.
Yeah, but that's a great question.
Rebecca,
that you
let me jump in there. Let me jump in there real quick. I know just about everybody that you mentioned that I can probably text them. And I don't say that to flex. I say that to say, I know there's folks out here doing the best I've met enough of them to know that the folks out there, they are doing the best they can to fight against white supremacy. I will say that much. And I will say that with just one point of correction in terms of the house that Patrisse bought, it was 1.9 million. And I know that might sound like parsing differences, but in California, in that area, that $1 million difference is everything, because that's really not that much. I never forget living in Boston. There was a house that I saw that I was on the corner lot, and I'm like, wow, I would love to get that for my kids. It looked like something in Mississippi that would cost like, I don't know, $150,000. That was $900,000 in Boston. So anyway, I don't have this, I appreciate you all having that conversation, and because, there are things that I've been privy to and situations, but I will say this though, y'all, like black folks, the truth is always going to win.
Yeah.
The truth is going to win in the end. It just is, because we got like what we fighting for is like Dr. King says something so prolific. He said the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what all Dr. King was into, but that's some supernatural, spiritual, next level interpretation of our blackness. Okay. And the fact that our blackness has been aligned with the moral arc of the universe. And y'all gonna come out here and perpetrate a fraud? Anybody? I don't care if it's Fox News. See these white folks, they think that they thought that they were going to perpetrate the narrative of the oppressed. We talked about that, Brother Mac, the narrative of the oppressed, how individuals who are oppressed, they have a very specific narrative. And these white folks on January 6th thought that they were oppressed. And they marched their silly behinds up the steps of the Capitol because they were oppressed because somebody asked them to wear a mask during the pandemic. And now they all facing charges because they perpetrated the fraud. They're not oppressed. They are the oppressors. How's Pharaoh? Like, I know there's a lot of traditions in terms of your interpretation of Pharaoh, but in the traditional Christian tradition, Pharaoh is the bad guy. And how can you as Pharaoh pretend to be oppressed when you are the oppressor?
Right.
White supremacy. So anyway, I don't want to go too deep into that. But the thing is like, black folks, the truth is going to win. And so long as, and this is why I appreciate your work, Dr. Mack, is because you put emphasis on fact.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to ignore the truth in order for black folks to be blessed in this country.
Right.
White supremacy got to lie in order to stay in power in this country.
Right. And I'll say this in regards to the Sisters of Black Lives Matter. And I say I felt some kind of way, but when you said, Brother Dixon, what you said, it instantly made me feel this way. I know that their body of work gave me something I had never seen in my life. And I'm saying the body of work of Black Lives Matter, what it gave me was when I watched them go into a courtroom and put handcuffs on Chauvin and escort him out in handcuffs. Never in my life have I seen a white police officer who murdered a black person be escorted out of a courtroom in handcuffs and convicted of it. I had never seen that in my life. Black Lives Matter, thank you. I had never seen, and today, even when we talk about the movement, in my life, I have argued against taking that Confederate, not my entire life, but in my adult life when I became socially conscious.
Yeah.
I've argued against removing that Confederate symbol from this flag in Mississippi. We've argued against removing Confederate statues. The murder of George Floyd and the outpouring of rage and anger in this country, that was birthed out of 3 words by 3 sisters.
Yes, sir.
Matter. So that body of work still makes me feel at this point, and I'm glad that we're having this because it certainly has been something, as Sister Rebecca, when you were talking about it, like, Carl, did you do the right thing? This conversation today has brought about closure to me, and I'm proud to have honored those sisters because the body of work that they did yielded those things. But should they be held accountable and should there be transparencies?
Oh yeah.
But part of it is, this thing went viral real quick, right? And maybe when they set this up, they had no idea that they were going to be in the forefront of presidential debates. And maybe they didn't have the infrastructure set up. So, and to your point, Brother Dixon, $1.9 million in California ain't like you buying a $1.9 million home in Mississippi, okay?
or Atlanta. Come on, listen, like, because y'all might read a report on me soon that I bought a $1.9 million home, and it's gonna be in Atlanta. Now it's gonna look like it's probably worth $60 million because Atlanta be popping, right? But in California, that gets you a little piece of land. But listen, Dr. Hart, I want to say this before I forget my point, because I'm getting old here. I said this about Black Lives Matter, and I mean this. Like, I don't care if you are talking about the slogan. I don't care if you're talking about the organization. I don't care if you're talking about the specific sisters. They are deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize. In so much as you even care about the congratulations of a white institution. If you even care about that, they deserve the top in this country because it has brought about a movement that is unquestionably bringing good to all of humanity, not just Black people, but starting first and foremost with Black people.
So Black Lives Matter definitely deserves that. The movement that it's created, the education, the awakening that it's done to people in itself. But I can't, we give credit to Black Lives Matter because they deserve. Those 3 women definitely deserve. Women's March that happened definitely deserve. The attention that brought up on Breonna Taylor, Black women definitely deserve. I never would not give credit where it's where it's due. They deserve, and I always talk about when they deserve. But like you said, we got to hold them accountable. But the specific person that I can't bypass, and I know Ben, you want to we want to move on from it, but this is the last thing that I'm going to say about it, because I would be remiss, because this is the top story in Black media right now, if I did not talk about Shaun King and me being right there, and I talk about being somebody who relates to every situation. I got to talk about that. And because I have a platform where I can now, because I was muted for so long, because of that situation, Shaun King needs to be held accountable.
Yes.
He has to be held accountable for what he's doing. And even in this woman is dealing with the death of her son. And then on today, this is just a few days ago that she brought this out about him. And on today, he should have been 19 years old. And her having to go through that, dealing with the death of her son, having to celebrate a birthday where he's not here to celebrate, him turning 19, and Shaun King, who was supposed to be an assistant to the movement, bringing his name to light, but fighting for the justice for this child, but using it for monetary gain and not giving it to, and saying that he's assisting her, and she's saying there's no assistance, so just stop using the name. Just stop using his name when you use anybody. When you go and rally, stop using my son's name. It's a simple ask, it's a simple task. Yet he's fighting it tooth and nail because a lot of people are now like, hey, the mother has spoken. I think it's time to listen. And I think that everybody should understand that. My experience with him is my experience with him. That's one thing. But when there are other people across the board that are sharing experience that are almost mirrored down to the T, that's when we should start looking into who we are putting on these pedestals. Thank you, Shaun King, for actually making things, like you said, we got to give credit where it's due, for actually taking some situations and putting it on your platform and giving it light, right? But when you're held accountable, when you're asked questions, don't go and attack the smaller people because you're a bit stronger in this space.
And Sister Rebecca, let me say this. As I'm listening to you, I hearken back to Jemele Hill and what happened to her at ESPN. And I want to applaud you for having the courage to stand up, because see, I think the Black Lives Matter situation and Shaun King, they're totally different to me. I'm appalled at what you've shared with me. And as far as I'm concerned, you are this, I'm hearing it from a person who was directly in the movement with this guy. So for what you said, but then on top of that, for a parent to come out, I'm gonna tell you this. If I did a presentation and the family, I remember when I got arrested in Seattle for the murder of Robert Thomas Sr. at the hands of a white law enforcement officer. And I want you to understand this, that when I got arrested, I was an engineer with King County government. That's who I worked for. The deputy sheriff that shot him was a King County deputy sheriff. So when I got arrested protesting my employer. And I even had Black folks who loved me that said, Carl, how could you protest against the hand that's feeding your family. And I say because the hand that's feeding my family is wrong.
Yeah.
I got arrested on that level, right? But if the Thomas family had come out to me and said, Brother Mac, shh, quiet, leave it alone. We don't want you talking about, just leave it alone. I would have shut up. I would have absolutely shut up. So I find what you're reporting to us as fact, because you are at ground zero. I'm appalled at this brother for what he's doing.
And I've been afraid. When I say I've been afraid, like the fear of, they would try to put the fear of God in me. And I'm like, if I speak, am I going to get so much so that other activists in that space was secretly hitting me up, calling my phone and asking me, am I okay? And I was saying, I can't even work. So I have to go back in, take away from my mental. And I got to go back to working corporate, because everywhere that I was working, they're like, oh, she was connected to Sean King in some kind of way or whatever. And so many women in that space were asking me just like, hey, do you need any help? Do you need this? Do you need that? It was a very, very tough time. That's why I thought I can't. I have to speak up when it's time to speak up. And I've always spoken up after that. While I was working at my corporate job, I said, I can't no longer be quiet, because this man is doing a lot of wrong. While he's brought a lot of light to situations, but he's taking people's work, and it's a lot of things surrounding that. And I feel like we're always going to have people in this space who probably start off with the best intentions, but may get lost along the way.
And see, sister, and that brings me to the words of Mary McLeod Bethune. Since we're talking about
Wildcats.
In her last will and testament, she said, I leave you love. I leave you hope. I leave you the challenge of developing confidence in one another. I leave you a thirst for education. I leave you respect for the use of power. I leave you faith. And above all, I leave you racial dignity. And see, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing historically, Gwen Eiffel, who was an icon of Black journalism.
Oh, yeah.
They tried to shut her down. Jamel Hill, they tried to shut her down. Now I'm listening to Sister Rebecca, and they've tried to shut you down. They've tried to, this attack against Black women in journalism who are now, and the reason we want you there is so that we can hear our voice from our perspective. But the moment that we start talking about real serious issues, then that liberal white person, that liberal right institution comes in and says, let me snatch your funding. The same thing that happened to Mark Lamont Hill at CNN, the same thing that happened to Roland Martin. This is what that supposedly white liberal media is doing. And so, as we're talking about topics that we need to delve deeper into, that's another one we need to delve into. So, because, and sister, I want to say this to you. No, we've never met, but trust and believe this. If they come, please call me. You will not stand alone. I swear to God, that bullet will be taken by me before it's taken by you. The idea that I would sit by and knowingly know that they're going to attack you, hell will freeze over before that happens, sisters.
Yes, sir.
No, trust and believe. If there's one call that you, Rebecca, you have a lifeline. Call who you want to be.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you. No, I do appreciate that.
But the same thing, this topic, when we talk about the reaction of white liberal media to Black journalists, and in this case, Black women, I would love to see a movement of Black women journalists coming together and then talk. Let us talk and tell white liberal media, this is what we see you doing.
Exactly.
You're far more dangerous than the white supremacists. We know what they do. But see, you're underhandedness, and they try to pick us off one by one. So, sister, I applaud your courage. I appreciate you educating me on this issue, because I look at this totally different. But trust and believe what I said to you. You shall not you will not, you shall not stand alone. And I applaud you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your courage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because it took a lot, but thank you so much, Dr. Carl. Look, Dr. Carl Mack, I appreciate that.
No, I'm your brother, baby girl.
Thank you, brother Carl Mack. Thank you. I really feel that, but I feel the energy and I feel the genuine love. And like I said, I never met DJ Exclusive in the physical. Okay. But, the same way he says, Rebecca, they not going to, nope. I love the brotherhood. I love the sisterhood. And that's what it's about. You know what I mean? That's what it's about protecting each other in these spaces because we're all we have. And it's also about getting each other together in these spaces because we're all we have. If we don't hold each other accountable, then how are we going to make ourselves better? How are we going to, make sure that we are the ones who are, hey, that's not right. Hey, maybe you should try it this way. Hey, let me talk to you for a minute and give you some good counsel real quick. You ain't got to take it, but here, let's have a conversation.
Listen, being new to the family. Brother Dixon, I have no idea about your support mechanism. I have no idea. But if for some reason this real talk that we're having on Like It or Not, if it negatively impacts you from whoever it is that's sponsoring, that's a discussion we need to have with them fools.
Yeah.
We are here to talk to you about our perspective. And this is why I resigned from the Board of Trustees at Clarkson. On one hand, you telling me that you want to hear this, right? On one hand, you want help. Then don't act like you know how to communicate with my community better than I.
Come on.
And so if you are here to support Brother Dixon, then listen to the Black perspective. And see, and they talk about they value diversity. See, and that's what has happened to us as a people when we sit at the table of diversity. Let me tell you what the table of diversity
Talk about it.
The table of diversity is the white people sit at the table, Native Americans sit at the table, Asians, Hispanics, everybody sits at the table of diversity, and then the Black people, we sit at the table of diversity. And every other culture will tell you what their issues are. But because we don't know our history, we're sitting there arguing their issues. We're arguing everybody else's issues.
Yeah.
So for those companies, for anybody who supports, this is the kind of real talk that we want to have in our community. And if you want to threaten Brother Dixon, whoever you are that supports him, sit down with us and let's talk about it. Because you're going to be held accountable too. We're going to call you for what you are.
Hey, man, that Jackson, Mississippi almost came out here right there, though. That Jackson, Mississippi came out.
No, but he's saying that's a good point.
It's always real. These are the real types of conversations that we need to have with the CNNs of the world who want to claim to be so liberal. But the moment that we start talking somewhere, we as Black folk, ESPN, player Jamil Hill ain't Mickey Mouse. She ain't Minnie Mouse now. All of a sudden you want to quiet her down because she's bringing a Black perspective, a strong Black woman perspective. Sister Rebecca is bringing a Black perspective. And now for your love and journalism, won't nobody touch you because Sean King, the puppet master, the gatekeeper, can somehow keep you out. No, Brother King, bring your ass on up in here and let's talk about this.
Let's have and I'm not afraid that I have said so many times, let's have a conversation. When I was leaving that place, I'm like, let's have a conversation. He's like, okay, call me at this number. Never.
Hey, Sean King, let me say right now, won't you come on here? Come on, Like It or Not, and let's find out if we like you or not. Because right now, I don't like you.
Exactly. And I'm like, I wanted so hard to trust him and do all that. And I did put my trust in him, and he let me down. And I thought, okay, let me just remove myself from the situation. But he will use his power. And it wasn't, this is my opinion, felt like he had an issue with Black women. Because if you speak to the Black women that have worked alongside this man, all of them will tell you they felt attacked, belittled, and, by him, by working alongside him, by creating something with him, and it never going through.
Okay, so Rebecca, how about this then? How about you contact all those Black women, bring them on Like It or Not, and let us hear direct. See, I heard directly from you, a source, and your experience. Let's bring the collective of these sisters together and let us hear from them.
I'll definitely, because we've had like a chat. So I'll definitely contact them and see what we can do. But for the sake of Like It or Not, that'll be a conversation with Benjamin Dixon. Now, but now, just to wrap it up, I think that
wait a minute. This is Like It or Not with Rebecca Azor.
It definitely is.
I'm still waiting on you to. I'm still waiting on you to bring me your music. Because my opening music is corny. It's like
right. Look, 5 years.
We need your music.
Has been in the game, and we've tried to shift it, and it keeps going back to Like It or Not. But for the sake of the Benjamin Dixon brand, this all is my opinions, my feelings, and my own experience. So that's fact and that's true. I say this just to make sure that this is news, right? This situation that's happening right now that I'm speaking of is news. People are being affected by him and his actions, and it should be a conversation. I don't want to Cuomo the situation because it's right next to me. I can't speak on it, right? And I speak on it at a level where it's fluff. I'm not going to do that. So any activists in these spaces, and it's us too, who have these spaces where we're speaking, we gotta make sure that we are not hurting the people when we're giving content, or when we're using their work, or when we're bringing experts on. We have to make sure we're doing this thing right, because when we don't, we hurt people. And when we go ahead and look at it for greed, we start hurting ourselves. The movement now is not genuine, and it isn't authentic. And that's why I say I want Like It or Not to be genuine and authentic, and be unapologetic.
Yes.
Because this is our platform. And that's why I say I want a lot of our experts to be Black, because this is our platform. And this is where we have the opportunity to have Black experts speaking, Black activists speaking, Black doctors, Black lawyers, all of those in this particular space, because we have them. So I'm in solidarity with everybody who's doing the good work, and thank you, Benjamin Dixon, for introducing us to Dr. Carl Mack. Yeah. It's a blessing to have this space.
I tell you what, sister, you have been food for my soul this morning. I'm so proud. I'm humbled by your courage, your wherewithal. God, I love you. I'm so proud.
Thank you. And same to you. Same to you. I'm so happy that we finally, because I watched you and I told Ben, who is this man, this really, really black man here? Like, this light-skinned Black man, but who is so Black? Like, I gotta watch and be like, that's
hey man, this man's so Black. I'm like, hold on. Let me check my credentials. Where my Black? We need to check in with him every quarter to check our Black card.
Our Black card. That's right.
Love this man, Rebecca. This man. I said, I was watching Ben, and this man really came with it. Like you. Ben has this knack for finding gems, right?
Yeah.
He'll be like, yo, Rebecca, there was this man. I got to get him on. I had a conversation with this man. This man knew how to meet. This man educated me.
Rebecca, let me say this, and Brother Dixon, the same with you, man. For even the title of your show, Like It or Not, I'm gonna tell you something. The word quintessential means in its purest form. These conversations we've had this morning. Oh, they are, you like it or not. These are some of the pure, in its purest form it is. And I want to thank you. But to DJ and Rebecca, you may not know this part of our conversation with Brother Dixon. But so when I was on Roland's show and I had the conversation, when he turned to the other two panelists and he asked them, you would have thought that they didn't hear a word that I said. Mm-hmm. Never commented. The first thing that came out of Brother Dixon's mouth was, man, I had no idea the knowledge that brother dropped, and I need to talk with him. And as a result of that, the comments that came to me, and they still coming to me from everybody who has seen that show, the universal comment that came out was people's admiration for what Brother Dixon said, and ultimately what he did. And Brother Ben, I got to tell you, I'm so humbled by you as well. So, I mean, to be a part of this family with you all, man, my soul is as enriched as it's been in a long time. So, thank you for holding this platform and let us all surround each other, because that day of picking us off one by one, just as Malcolm said, man, if you pay attention to the white media, they'll have you believing that the oppressor is the oppressed and the oppressed is the oppressor.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes, right
Come
there.
on.
Look, and that's the end of the show right there. That's the line. Clip that, put it out there, quote it, put it on social media. Make sure you tag Dr. Brother Carl Mack. Doctor, that's my brother. That's y'all doctor. That's y'all teacher. But make sure you guys tag him, because he's dropped a lot of gems. You should see the chat right now. Everyone is literally, just loving that we are being very authentic here. Yeah. And I mean, it's a Friday show. I love when we can let our hair down, for me, let my braids down, and just relax and get this conversation going and being us, because where can we have these around the table conversations in the middle of a pandemic? Where can we have these nice soul food, gourmet conversations, right? With our friends and our family right here.
All the time.
Yeah.
I am going to say this, though. No weapon formed against me or you or any one of y'all it's going to prosper.
That's right.
At all.
Trust and believe.
Trust and believe.
Trust and believe. Okay.
And I'll tell you this on the story when I got arrested, right? And again, I had just gotten married. My son was 1 year old. I had a big mortgage. And my mother's a church-going woman, as our folks are, right? And my mother was calling me like, Carl, you got to stop that, because when you get in trouble, all them people out there you trying to help, where they going to be? And I said, Mama, every Sunday you sit up in church. Every Sunday you sit up in church, and you tell me how much you love the Lord and give your faith. God going to take care of it. I said, God, the Lord also told us, works without faith, faith without works is dead.
Yeah, let alone.
I said, Mama, they said in the good book, and I was a Sunday school dropout, so I had to paraphrase, right? In the good book, it says, something about that weapon. And if they form that weapon, it can't hurt me because God got me. Do you believe that, Mama? She said, baby, of course Mama believes that. I said, well, Mama, if you believe that, don't worry about me. God got me, baby girl.
Come on.
That was the end of that. She said, well, baby, you go do what you got to do, but Mama still worried. I said, well, if faith is strong, you have no worry, Mama.
Well, you tell Mama that Black folks in this country, we got the narrative of the oppressed.
That's right. Oh, she ain't worried these days. She ain't worried these days because her baby boy is retired, right? So so she ain't worried.
I'm trying to get where you are, man. How you 60? Well, you ain't nowhere near 60 and retired. You got to tell us how to do that.
I'm 59 and a half, and I'll tell you exactly how I.
He's at 59 and a half. I ain't 60 yet.
Yeah. No, I love. I'm gonna tell you something. As Black men, this is one of the best places you can be when you're not held to anybody, because see all the crap that's been heaped upon us. I've been wanting to tell you this for a long time, and now that I'm nearing the pearly gates, I'll tell you exactly what's on my mind. Unapologetic.
That's it.
Glorious times in life. But I would tell you this. I think there's 4 components to a holistic education. There's a training component where you need to learn how to read and write and arithmetic and all that. There's a spiritual component. You need to believe in something that's bigger than you. There's a cultural component. You need to know who you are as a Black woman, as a Black man, as Black people. We need to know that cultural component to our education. And then there's a financial component. If you don't know how to manage money, I don't care how successful you are, you will be enslaved, right? So I understood the financial component. And so one of my students, and she is an absolutely phenomenal sister named Erin Teague, computer engineer, University of Michigan. She came to work for me at the National Society of Black Engineers. So I got back into the investment game. And she came to me one day and said, brother, Daddy Mac, you need to go into Facebook. So when Facebook dropped, I went in. But the reason I went in, she said this to me. She said, do you know how many people on the planet? I said, no. She said, 7 billion. She said, out of that 7 billion, 3 billion got internet. Out of the 3 billion plus that's got internet, 1 billion are on Facebook. And I knew that mainstream, traditional media, print media was dropping off. So they're looking at the eyeballs. So the long and short of it is, family, I took every penny that I had, and I put it all on Facebook, every penny. And all I can tell you is I'm retired.
Drop the damn mic.
Teach us your ways. He said,
okay. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals who are listening to the podcast, might I just recommend you go watch that video clip. That's all I got to say. Go watch that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on the show. Look, it's been very, and thank God that, I made it to today's show, and I got a chance to talk with you and or be here and experience you in real time. It's a good experience. It's a good experience. It's really Black.
It's
like I feel like
awesome
it was
as
the whole
experience.
HBCU course. That that one long class that we had that was about 3 hours long, but we loved it because it was super Black.
Come on.
It's this one right here.
This is the class I show up early for.
This is it.
Like, on time, like 30 minutes beforehand, just ready. Matter of fact, I'm just going to sit in your class beforehand.
I should have never been let in because I was late, but that's all right because the Lord knew I needed this. I needed this moment, and I needed this.
Yeah. And can I say this to Professor Douglas? I don't even know if Professor Douglas is still living, but thank you, brother. I just want to thank that brother because he still was patient with me, and he poured enough into me for me to remember him right now today in this scenario after everything I've gone through and everything I've done, and I built Hell Wildcats, Professor Douglas, his desire to push. And this is what we get at Black universities all the time. You get Black professors who are committed to instilling something into those Black students that they know that they are going to need to survive white supremacy and capitalism.
That's it.
That's that on that.
And thank you so much once again, Brother Carl Mack. I appreciate you. Look, Ben, thank you for just, bringing us all together. And I got to head out because I got another job. But I love you guys. One day I'm going to be like, listen, Carl, and be like, listen, all I can say is that I'm retired.
Wait.
I claim it.
Oh, man. Hey, love all y'all. Appreciate y'all.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. And become a Patreon today. Love y'all.
Yes, love y'all. Mean it. We out. Deuces. See y'all Monday.
Bye.
Sometimes I look at my Black child and I want to apologize because we birthed them into a society that can be so cruel and so uncivilized. The very thought of my Black child venturing into this world without me silently terrorizes, a lingering torment I've been forced to compartmentalize. Because you see, their Black child could very well have been my own. Empathy is when we grieve for their Black child just like you would grieve for your own. Sometimes I look at my Black child and I want to level with them because they were born into a system that will assassinate their character even after it has assassinated them, forcing our Black parents to defend their Black child's legacy before they've even had a chance to bury them. All because they were born into a system that has mastered the art of dehumanizing them. But I gotta compartmentalize that away. Because look at my Black child when they go outside and play. They dream, they dance, and deduce with the magnificence of their Blackness, only to have it gentrified and de-seasoned to be made palatable for the white masses. But look at my Black child, the descendant of people this empire could never break. A people so strong that their catalog of traumas is encoded in our DNA. A people who have survived everything this universe has ever thrown our way. A people for whom overcoming is no longer sufficient. We shall lead the way. They will call you lazy when they know you work harder. They will call you ignorant because they fear you're smarter. They'll call you ugly even when you are the object of their desire. They will call you uncivilized when they are the barbarians at the gates of their own empire.